My Little Pony Friendship is Magic was created and written by people who had a heart for the actual show and its characters, but was obviously only greenlit and put on the air by Hasbro to sell a whole bunch of toys. There would be no problem with this at all if the toys were actually good or looked accurate to how the characters look like in the show. That way, the customers get exactly what they like from the show, and the company earns profits, satisfying the fans. That's a completely fair trade-off. But no, take a completely white character and make her pink instead to appeal to little girls who would actually probably prefer the toys to look accurate to how they look like in the show. So then I thought of this crazy idea. Why don't we go on an adventure to look through every single My Little Pony toy ever released, and perhaps even unreleased as well, to see just how accurate or inaccurate they all are. Starting off the first installment in this journey with the minifigure toy line. We shall be leaving no stone unturned and looking through literally every single one of these ever made. And where we can, we shall be attributing characteristics and headcanons to toy-exclusive characters who don't appear in the show, because those ponies need love too. But before we do, and before anyone asks, no, this beanie and this flower is not an indication of me going completely off the wall crazy. What happened was, I used to have emo hair. My mom made me cut my hair, so now I look normal. I don't want to look normal, so I'm wearing something stupid. But after going a while wearing this in public, it's actually starting to grow on me, so I think I might keep this even after my hair grows back. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, wave 1, start us off. Alright then, let's take a closer look at these. Pinkie Pie. Starting off with probably the most recognizable My Little Pony minifigure, we've got Pinkie Pie. I'd wager to bet that if you've been a fan of My Little Pony for a while, you have at least one of these guys running around in your house somewhere. Anyways, as you can see, the mane and tail are obviously very different from the show design. Though, funnily, I didn't really notice this as a kid. I subconsciously knew that something was different, but I actually remember thinking, Pinkie has curly hair in the show, the toy has curly hair, therefore it's accurate enough. Though this is stupid because in retrospect, I really need to ask how this came out of this, especially the back of her mane. Like, what is this? It's kind of funny how looking at the card will get us to believe that these hairstyles are in fact one and the same. Also, what the heck is this building/contraption? But speaking of her card, the back of it says, Pinkie Pie keeps her pony friends laughing and smiling all day. Cheerful and playful, she always looks on the bright side. Which is kind of dumb because, albeit not incorrect, there's nothing about partying, which is basically her main trait. And what? She only keeps her pony friends laughing and smiling all day? What, is she racist towards people who aren't ponies? Though, I guess for what it is, it does resemble Pinkie more than it doesn't. Although, if you cover the cutie mark, it actually gets kind of hard to tell that this is even supposed to be Pinkie. But still, not a bad start. Applejack. I know what you're thinking. Where the heck is her hat? Even her card gaslights us into thinking that she doesn't usually have a hat. I'm assuming that the real reason is because they wanted to use the base as a recolor, but still, come on! At least for what it is, the hair is at least accurate-er than Pinkie's, but that's still like taking 3,000 steps back and taking one little step forward. This actually costs some people to make their own hats just to put on their toys, and that's kind of funny. Aside from that, it's kind of weird how they drew on the freckles in the image, but didn't give her any on the actual toy. It doesn't seem too hard just to print 3 white dots on what is supposed to be one of your main characters, but we gotta make these as cheap as possible, right? I don't really like this pose. I think after reading Little Miss Rarity and seeing ponies stand, I've just developed an aversion to ponies on their hind legs. It's kind of gross looking. At least her card's backside. Applejack is honest, friendly, and sweet to the core. She loves to be outside, and her friends know they can always count on her. Slightly better than Pinkie's. Rainbow Dash. Overall, I think this is one of the better ones out of the main 6. There's nothing to really note in a negative sense, besides maybe the fact that her cutie mark is basically on her leg and her flank, and her eyes look way too tired to be Rainbow Dash. Also, the pose. I guess it's supposed to look like she's flying. Well, she's not on the card, so I have no idea what she's doing. They could have at least given this picture a cloud backdrop. I know that's still 3 things I listed, but they're like so minor that it doesn't really matter. The back of her card is also reasonable. Rainbow Dash loves to fly as fast as she can. She is always ready to play a game, go on an adventure, or help out one of her friends. Though, she doesn't really help out her friends in the show. Judging by the fact that the show was basically made to sell toys, I'm assuming that these were written before the show even came out, or at least a couple episodes in at the latest, so it's forgivable, I guess. Rarity. You know what? This one ain't too bad. The main color is quite pretty. I like the way that they gave her mane some vibrance rather than just a solid purple, and her white coat complements her cutie mark pretty well. Although, I guess it's technically not accurate to the show design, or at least not until they pretty much give her a redesign in the later seasons. But I think taking liberties like this to make it look better is acceptable. Though her horn looks like it's a part of her mane and her eye is a little dark in color, but whatever. I had less things to complain about this one compared to Rainbow Dash, so I guess this is technically the best one so far. The card also seems good enough. Twilight Sparkle. No wings! Inaccurate alert! Okay, jokes aside, out of all the unique molds so far, this one might be the best. Like I said with Rainbow Dash and Applejack, it doesn't really make too much sense why they would be standing, and Rarity looks like she's in a rush to go somewhere, and Pinky looks like she was walking one direction but now she's distracted by you. Twilight here looks like she's actually looking at you to have a conversation with you or something. Maybe they just tried extra hard because she's the main character of the show, but this is actually pretty decent. Her card also seems pretty decent. Twilight Sparkle tries to find the answer to every question, whether studying a book or spending time with friends, she always learns something new. No complaints there. Also, the front of the card displays cardboard Twilight, which is pretty nostalgic if you ask me, so bonus points for that. Fluttershy. Okay, this is easily the worst one out of the main 6. Also, the figure itself sucks as well. First of all, why is she a recolor? Was she just not deemed important enough to get her own mold? Like, I know that I always bash on Fluttershy, like, in every video, but, like, this is a little too far. This goes beyond just not modeling an accessory like a hat. This is just lazy. Like, even the dumbest child will know something's not right with this. Especially when they don't even own up to their mistakes. The card literally attempts to gaslight us all into thinking that she actually looks like this in the show. Come on, that's a new low. Curiously, the actual packaging for this wave depicted her normally, so, what gives? The eye shape is good though, but that's pretty much the only positive I can give for this toy. I suppose the card has no important omissions this time around, but that's a little too late, if you ask me. I have a sneaking suspicion that this one will stay as my least favorite for at least a while. Sugar Grape. Finally, our first non-main 6 character. It's surreal seeing a fruit-related pony be a Pegasus and not an Earth pony, and that was pretty much my reaction when I also saw Strawberry Sunrise from the show. Anyways, despite the fact that Sugar Grape doesn't appear in the show, she makes an appearance in the comics, which is pretty cool. Well, she doesn't really do anything except fly, but it's still cool that she was included in them. I suppose that this thought bubble suggests that she has an overbearing mother, so there's some super obscure lore that's not even related to the show whatsoever if you needed to know. That, and her card says that she likes fairy tales. Is this a reference to a particular fairy tale involving grapes, or is this just filler? Because I can't really think of any fairy tales that involve grapes as its main themes on the top of my head at this moment. Anyways, apparently the reason she was included in the comics is because the artist randomly got her from a Blindbag. That's actually pretty cool. Unlike her design, the colors are kind of boring. This is basically just the grape version of Rarity. Lily Blossom. For some reason, there are 2 versions of this pony in the same wave, one being lighter and one being darker. I genuinely have no idea why this was the case. Perhaps one of them was the wrong color? Though it's not like that matters since she's not even in the show, so it's not like anyone would have been able to tell. I guess this one is more accurate to the toy that she's based on, but first of all, it's such a minor difference to get caught up about, and second, they didn't even get the cutie mark consistent. But who cares, since according to her card, Lily Blossom is known for being graceful when she flies, but she is just as elegant on all 4 hooves. She seems like the most boring person to be around. Though, like I said, there's multiple merch of her despite the fact that she's not in the show. Notably, this Happy Meal. Imagine being a kid and seeing this selection of toys, but the only one left by the time you get to the McDonald's is this one character who doesn't even appear in the show. What were they thinking? The design itself is fine. I mean, nothing special, nothing too bad. Literally just an NPC town filler pony. Minty. Minty. Classic Minty. Minty appeared in every generation besides G2 for some reason. She's basically become a staple of My Little Pony merch, existing in pretty much every single toy line, so it makes sense to have her as a minifigure as well, despite her not appearing in Friendship is Magic till, well, forever. Her only on-screen appearance was in this short that came out like 8 years after the toy. It's kind of weird how she looks like an Applejack recolor in the short. Like, it hurts my head. They even gave her freckles despite the toy not having freckles. The card does, but the toy doesn't, though that goes for every Applejack recolor. Her appearance in the short is basically like reverse accuracy. That's sort of cool, I suppose. Her card is also cool. Minty loves to celebrate holidays with her friends. Her favorite season is winter. That's a pretty cool reference. Her colors are also pretty. Bumblesweet. Interesting. What would a bee-themed pony's occupation or passion even be? A beekeeper? A honey farmer? At least she appeared in the comic, doing absolutely nothing, but still. Also, for some reason, there's a different bee-themed pony they made a toy of. I mean, there's no bee-themed pony at all in the show, so I don't see why they couldn't just call these the same character. Are they sisters, perhaps? The wiki treats these two as if they're the same character, despite the fact that they have different cutie marks, but whatever. What isn't whatever is her card. Bumblesweet is very polite. She loves to talk to every pony and always has something nice to say. Couldn't they force a bee pun in there, like, she loves to be nice or something? For the sheer lost opportunity of actually incorporating her into an episode and the double lost opportunity for not putting a bee pun on her card, I would have to say that this figure sucks. Though, except no, it doesn't. I actually love her design. It's better than Fluttershy's figure for sure. Even if the eye color just makes it look like this is Pinky after she covers herself up in honey as a joke. Fizzy Pop. Fizzy Pop? Like Fizzle Pop Berry Twist?
It's Fizzle Pop.
Is she secretly Tempest Shadow? Like, how is Fizzy Pop not a nickname for Fizzle Pop Berry Twist? The colors between the characters are pretty much the exact same, and the similarities are even more pronounced in the card. How about the fact that she's not a unicorn here? I hear you asking. Well, she probably has no horn instead of a half horn because they were too lazy to model a half horn. Not to mention her card insinuates that she likes seeing things pop. That seems pretty fitting for Tempest. Also, we never see Tempest's cutie mark in the movie, so this doesn't contradict anything. Therefore, this is a valid theory. Oh. It's more likely that Tempest was just based off this G3 pony that this figure was also based off of. Still! Anyways, her colors look like an eyesore, so despite my special interest in her, I can't really say that I like this figure too much. Flower Wishes. Alright, here's our first non-main 6 pony who actually appears in the show. We can actually start ranting about inaccuracies now. I tried seeing if the cutie mark is flipped as an error or if they're actually flipped depending on the side, but literally every image of her has her body facing the right with the toy facing the left. This one, where her cutie mark is covered, is just ridiculous. Aside from the main style, this one is actually perfectly adequate and not really that inaccurate. If I didn't really care about the main difference in Pinky as a kid, I'm sure that this wouldn't have bothered me at all if I got this as a kid either. I guess the only whatever thing is, like, her name is listed as Flower Wishes, but her name is Daisy in the show.
Daisy, we need to talk.
I actually prefer the name Flower Wishes, but I can't see how that could bother some people. I guess you could nitpick and point out how her main style is different in the card, but if we want to live a life that's not entirely composed of bitterness and discontent and torpor, I think we should learn to let this one go for now. Roseluck. Similar to her friend, this pony's name is Roseluck as a toy, but simply Rose in the show.
Look, Rose, how awful.
Though, while we're here at the card, how come it says, Roseluck loves to pick pretty flowers and wear them in her hair? I don't know if you noticed or not, but she doesn't exactly have flowers in her hair, does she? Not even in the picture. Speaking of which, her mane is more maroon in the show and salmon in the toy. I find it interesting how they went out of their way to quote-unquote fix and re-release this toy-exclusive character that nobody would have even complained about if they didn't, due to a color error, yet they let this slip through the cracks. Sweetie Blue. This pony oddly and suspiciously resembles Miss Cake. They both have a similar color scheme and cutie mark. Perhaps Sweetie Blue is the conjoined twin that they split off from birth and kept hidden in the basement of Sugar Cube Corner. In fact, her card even says, Sweetie Blue is the split conjoined twin sister of Mrs. Cake kept decomposing in the basement of Sugar Cube Corner. I wonder what that means. I suppose that overall the colors are nice and the big fat cupcake looks delicious, but due to how she looks way too similar to an already existing character without just being the character, this is just stupid. Pepper Dance. Okay, just like Bumblesweet, I'm actually pretty upset that Pepper Dance isn't in the show either. I'm not really sure what kind of storytelling elements could have come from this chili pepper-based pony, but it would have been some extremely awesome world building to have a pony who's in charge of the spicy vegetation side of Ponyville. That hot sauce Pinky likes putting on her confections must come from somewhere, right? Though, I guess the only canon information about her is what it says on the card. Pepper Dance loves to race with her friends. She is always ready for a challenge. Okay, what else can I say? Like, her design, despite being a recolor, looks nice. It might just be because red ponies are so rare that she subconsciously sticks out to me, or the fact that I like spicy food, but I don't know, she looks nice. She should have been in the show. Lemon Hearts. Oh wow, the cutie mark is flipped. Unacceptable. What else is unacceptable is her card. Lemon Hearts is loving and kind. She always takes time to show her friends how much she cares. Everyone should be as miserable as I am. They got the colors right, and I guess that's the only thing you can really judge this off of, since it is a recolor of Rarity's mold after all, though it still looks like an eyesore. It seems like colors that may look fine on a 2D character may not translate the best into a 3D model figure. Cherry Spices. Speaking of eyesores, now don't get me wrong, I like cherries, so I'm not sure why, but this design kind of repulses me. They added her in the show and comics as a background character, and she looks perfectly cute. And spoiler alert, but they actually redesigned her later on, and she looks very nice. So I have no idea what's wrong with this. Though that probably implies that the people who were in charge of designing these must have also thought there was something wrong with this figure, that they felt the need to actually redesign her, but we'll get there when we get there. Same with the art on her card. It looks weird, but I can't put my finger on it. Let me know if you agree with my sentiment or if you think that this looks beautiful. Though still, her show appearance is kind of dumb because that means that the toy retroactively became inaccurate. Sweetie Swirl. Finally, one that's actually pleasing to look at. I think that this pony has a great cutie mark. It's on there loud and proud, and the colors work very well. The only thing I don't jive with too much is the yellow eyeliner on the card. I think they were trying to tie it in with the cone color in her cutie mark, but it really doesn't work at all. Lucky Swirl. Okay, I know that ponies share names quite often, but the fact that we got 2 swirls in a row and they're roughly the same color, I think we can consider these 2 as sisters. Anyways, I guess due to her main colors, she kind of just looks like Twilight if you squint your eyes a bit. Especially on the card. For that, her design points should go down. But anyways, this cutie mark and the fact that she's pink makes me think that if she was given a character, she'd be the town's matchmaker. So at least being able to give me an idea like that about her characteristics should give it a few points back up. Sweet Cream Scoops. According to her card, Sweet Cream Scoops can hit high notes? That's your crowning achievement? That's not even that impressive for a girl. Like, sure, it does take practice to go high, and just because you're a girl doesn't mean that you can automatically hit high notes. So I'm assuming that this means that she can go higher than the average person. But you do realize that there's a point where a note is too high that it's really impractical to be used in a song anyways, right? Why not just say something about ice cream? What was wrong with something like Sweet Cream Scoops makes the best ice creams in Ponyville? It's almost like they literally just wrote a bunch of random traits, put them all inside a hat, and picked out random ones to attribute to random ponies. That's kind of disgusting. Also, once again, due to being randomly picked from the blind bag by Andy Price, she was put in the comics multiple times. In fact, she appears so many times in the comics, plus some covers, and this chapter book, she probably has more out-of-show representation than a handful of characters actually from the show. Though, on that topic, I actually really do like her design and would have loved to see her animated on the show. Firecracker Burst. You know what? This pony looks actually really cool. And unlike those NPC food and plant ponies, I can actually see this character having a serious personality. Like, if this show is aimed for a slightly older audience, I'd like to imagine her personality as like chaotic and trigger-happy, perhaps unhinged and always eager to commit arson. Unfortunately, her only non-toy appearance seems to be this tiny illustration of her in a line in a comic. Apparently, this hairstyle was based on this fan art of her where she's completely murdering this poor innocent creature. I guess that's some weird lore that probably nobody knows and was probably only added to the wiki by the guy who drew this in the first place. I like how her cutie mark is literally the fire emoji. It's fitting since her design goes hard. Just because of how her design alone gives me all these ideas for what kind of person she is, I think I'd have to say that this might be my favorite figure from this wave. I don't know, let me know if you agree with me or not. Maybe I'm just giving her praise where there shouldn't be. I don't know, you be the judge. Glitter ponies. For whatever reason, each wave has a couple glitter or glow-in-the-dark or special versions of some characters, and in this wave, a glitter version of Twilight Sparkle was released twice. Yet they share the same card. That and all these card designs omitted the cutie marks for whatever reason. They look so naked. It's also kind of funny how I'm sure nobody in existence would genuinely prefer to open up a blind bag to receive a glitter version as opposed to the real thing. However, the card gaslights you into thinking that this is a cool product by putting special edition on them. Overall, honestly, not too shabby. Granted, I am giving this a lot of leeway since this is only the first wave, though I genuinely do like Firecracker Burst and Pepper Dance's designs, and wish that they would have at least had background cameo appearances in the show. Though what strikes me as odd is how a little after this wave, they released the main 6 separately in this packaging, which makes sense since if the chances of you getting someone cool like Rainbow Dash from a blind bag was the exact same as getting someone lame like Sugar Grape, you would want this extra opportunity. This was the case for all of the main 6 except for Fluttershy. Interesting. It's almost as if they were genuinely ashamed of their product for looking like this. I'm sure this has caused at least one poor soul to check out a bunch of different stores to find Fluttershy without knowing that it just straight up doesn't exist. This is literally that prank where you paint a 1, a 2, and a 4 on greased up pigs and let them loose in public and have everyone scramble to find a third one. Still, there ended up being these puzzle sets, one including this Fluttershy. But obviously that was only there to sweeten the pot for the puzzle and not for the Fluttershy. There was also this 4-pack that didn't include Applejack. At this point, why didn't they just include the bad-looking Fluttershy in one of these and just do a main 6-pack? Even if she looks too ugly and inaccurate to buy on her own, you're still gonna buy the main 6-pack. This is just another sad case of Applejack neglect. Alright then, Wave 2. Let's see what kind of exciting new characters they made for Wave 2. Oh, the main 6. To be fair, this re-release does make sense since I'm sure most people would want the main 6. And like I said, if the chances of you getting a main character and the chances of you getting some random NPC pony are the exact same, it stands to reason to give them an extra edge, effectively doubling their probability. Unless if you happen to cave in and buy these and your blind bake that you bought also contained one of the main 6s, then oh well. Still, I can't wait till I get my hands on the Wave 2 pony. Europe exclusive? Well, let's just hope that the figures in this wave are actually not good enough to not be too upset about the regional boundary. Feather May. Her colors look like an eyesore. Let's just hope that her personality is better. Feather May loves to tickle friends. What kind of pervert is this? You could have said she loves to write, she loves to fill up cushions, she has a pet parrot. She loves to tickle friends. I mean, sometimes I give people one of zzz to their side, or I do this on their kneecaps very slowly to piss them off when I'm bored, but I wouldn't say I necessarily love to do that. Not to mention, since you can't really tickle anyone using hooves, she presumably uses feathers for that activity. But judging by the fact that that's her cutie mark, does that mean that she got a cutie mark in tickling people? Yeah, I'm fine with her staying in a completely different continent than me. Blossom Forth. Now, I don't even know where to start with this one, since Blossom Forth was first made as a toy and then only after did she appear in the show. So I won't really criticize it for inaccuracies per se, but I'm still confused at the decision to make her look like a Twilight recolor in the show when she's a Rainbow Dash recolor in the toy and card. Not to mention how the colors in the toy and card seem way off. But still, as much as I like Blossom Forth and her little cough, I don't think this toy does anything nor anyone any justice. So I can't say I'm really too upset about the fact that I'll never see this in real life. Lulu Luck. Wow, so not only are we reusing molds, we're also reusing cutie marks. The thing is that because they both have the word luck in their names, it would be cool if these two were twin sisters. But then the issue is that I already headcanon Lucky Swirls to be Sweetie Swirl's sister, so whatever. Sweetie Swirl, you've been downgraded to their cousin or something. Whoa, whatever. What does her card say? Lulu Luck is good at everything. Well, which is it? Is she good at everything or is she lucky at everything? You realize that those two words aren't interchangeable, right? Star Swirl. Speaking of the Swirl family, we've got Star Swirl... The bearded? Obviously not, but why does her cutie mark look so extra special? It looks too majestic for her to be some other random NPC. Too bad all her card says is... Star Swirl always sparkles. At least her colors look slightly pleasing to look at, which is new for this wave so far. T-Love. Very interesting cutie mark. It resembles more of the G3 style for cutie marks, but that's not necessarily a bad thing since it looks cool. Plus, a T-themed pony seems pretty fun to hang around, especially because her card says, T-Love loves cozy chats, which sounds all calming and soothing like this car ad. Especially because she's the embodiment of perhaps the calmest and soothingest drink of all. However, all of that is discarded when you see that she's a pinky recolor, and you look at her design again and she suddenly looks all loud and rowdy. Though apparently at the request of Hasbro themselves, T-Love was put into the comics, where she looks much more in tune with what a T-pony should look like. Beats me why Hasbro would want this pony in specific in the comics, but she seems to have been given a pretty prominent role in it too. Though let's save all the details for whenever I actually get around to making a video about the comics. For now, I will say that the idea of this character is better than the actual toy. So I guess this character was that important that when they made a book about these minifigures, T-Love was included with it for some reason, which is most likely where the figure of her that I have comes from. Ribbon Heart. NPC alert. There's nothing too interesting about ribbons. In fact, there's nothing interesting about ribbons at all. If you got me a gift and you went the extra mile to tie me a ribbon, thanks, but you know that's gonna come off in 2 seconds anyway, right? However, on the other hand, if you got me a gift with no ribbon on in the first place, I don't think I'd even notice that there's no ribbon on it. I just open it up. Same with Ribbon Heart. Her colors are nothing amazing, her cutie mark isn't too noteworthy, and her card ain't anything to write home about either. At least I don't actively see her as an eyesore per se. Cheerily. It's interesting how this toy actually seems to be based off the G3 Cheerily, judging by the cutie mark. But then the card and the main color says the opposite? Though, speaking of her card, this looks disgusting. Honestly, I'm not too sure if this figure was made before G4 Cheerily was conceived of, but if it was made after, then I get that this is a recolor, but come on. Either put some care into a more prominent character or just don't make her. This is just lazy. Actually, looking at the original pitch Bible from 2009, we can see that Cheerily with the G4 cutie mark was there from the beginning. In conclusion, this is just lazy and inconsistently so. Daisy Dreams. The interesting thing about Daisy Dreams is how, as a standard brushable, she was somehow deemed important enough to not be a recolor. However, as a minifigure, she looks like this on the card. This is like the exact same feeling as when a girl starts talking to you and you two hit it off like really well. Like she laughs at like every joke you're saying. You guys are into the same shows, into the same music, blah, blah, blah. And you see your entire life with her, right? But then she stops talking to you out of nowhere after like about a week or so. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, her design looks cool, I guess. But once again, my favorite toy exclusive figures so far were the ones whose cutie marks and overall appearance invoke a sense of story potential for me. I'm not really sure what yet another flower pony could really offer in terms of storytelling. It's not like her card says anything useful either. Stardash. Speaking of cards not letting us know anything useful, Stardash loves shooting stars. Does this mean that she likes the noun shooting stars, or does it mean the verb shooting and the noun stars? All this would have been fine. There would have been no question if it just said Stardash loves to see shooting stars. Still, her colors are pretty cute, and even if her cutie mark is very generic, I think I would find her design really good if she wasn't confined to this exact pose that every pony else is in. Honeybell. Okay, maybe it's just a rarities pose that I find repulsive. That would explain my unexplainable aversion to cherry spices from earlier. The reason Rarity looks fine for me is because this pose fits her very well because her personality is snobby, but we've seen enough episodes with her to know that she can act cute and funny as well. However, when we see these random ponies who look snobby without necessarily showing us their cute and funny side, they just look snobby and obnoxious. All that to say, I don't like this design. Not to mention that her name doesn't even make any sense. It's not like her name is even Honeybell as in bells. It's Honeybell when nothing about her resembles honey and certainly nothing about her resembles bell. Her card doesn't even tell us anything about her besides the fact that she has friends. Honeybell loves to visit friends. It doesn't even specify if her friends enjoy being visited by her. What if this person only loves to visit her friends just to brag and bother to them? Gross pony. If I see another Rarity recolor anytime soon, I'm gonna go berserk. Who's next? Dewdrop Dazzle. Her design looks like we just blindly grabbed 3 colors and went on a random object generator and this was the result. There's no rhyme or reason to this character. And don't even get me started on what an umbrella cutie mark is supposed to represent. Dewdrop Dazzle loves splashing in puddles. But if she likes splashing in puddles, which results in getting wet, why would her cutie mark be the one item that prevents you from getting wet? To be fair, in the Brushable series, she's a Twilight recolor, and it looks way better than this. So if the minifigure was also a Twilight recolor, I don't think I dislike this character at all. Rainbow Flash. Once again, with the Rarity mold, it seems to exclusively only look good for Rarity. I'm even more flabbergasted at the fact that she's based off of Rainbow Flash from G3, who's an Earth pony. Aside from that, I really don't even know what to say about her. Her card is the most generic thing in existence. Like, how am I supposed to build a personality off of this? Pudding Pie. You got me. I genuinely have no idea what to say about this guy either. I think if she was in Wave 1, she'd be, like, middle of the road, but because every pony else in this wave is so lame, I have no choice but to say that she's one of the cuter ones here. Her card, Pudding Pie loves sharing with friends, is super lame. And leaving her coat white seems to be a waste of an opportunity to add some crazy and unique colors. But the previous few ponies that we discussed dropped my standards so low that I don't even care anymore. Though, the good thing about her being white like this is that she kind of resembles raw meat, and that's pretty funny. Snowcatcher. Snowcatcher? Why does that sound like a slur? Anyways, why does she have to have pretty much the exact same hair color as Pudding Pie? Anyways, Snowcatcher seems to be the reverse version of Dewdrop Dazzle since she's a Twilight as a minifigure but Rarity as a brushable. Aside from that, there's really nothing much more to say about her either. Her cutie mark looks cool, I guess, which will bump her up a few points, though I can't really say the same about her card description. Snowcatcher loves to play outdoors? Like, huh? Twinkle-shine. I'm going to have an aneurysm. How is this even remotely close to this? I was being patient with Shirley and Lemonhearts since even if they don't look accurate, they still did their best they could with the recoloring. But come on! I know the previous albinos weren't my favorite, but that doesn't mean you should purposefully make your toy inaccurate. Similar to Princess Celestia toys, I'm assuming they colored Twinkle-shine pink in merch to make her appeal to little girls better. But this is a Blindbag minifigure. Even if you get her and you're not satisfied with the fact that she looks accurate to her show design, it's not like you're gonna go and return it. You already opened the package. Just get the color correct at this point. Now, you could be thinking, sure, they're both unicorns, but the hair colors are also completely different. How can we be certain that they're not just different characters who share the same name like Star Swirl from earlier? Well, that's because their cutie marks are the exact same to a T. Judging this as its own thing, sure, she looks cute enough. But the fact that this is supposed to be Twinkle-shine is literally just like a slap on the face. This is only made worse by her card. Twinkle-shine loves playing games. Is this a game to you? Is this funny? Do you enjoy making my mind break? Glitter ponies. whatever. Continuing from wave 1, the rest of the main 6 got glitter versions to complete the set, which, despite my dislike towards glitter versions, is perfectly fine because the first wave only had half of the main 6 and this one contains the rest of them. But remember, this entire wave was exclusive to Europe, meaning that at this point in time, if you don't live in Europe, I guess too bad you only get half of the main 6. If I'm able to get these 3, at least give me the chance to get the rest of them. Overall, I can confidently say that this wave sucked. The only redeeming part whatsoever about this wave is that because it's confined to only a certain part of the world, it's preventing the rest of the planet from having to suffer from all this. Though still, I think I should reiterate that these were, for some reason, not released to everybody. In fact, I found this forum post where this guy inquired where to find the figures in this wave, and the only answer was basically to just use the German version of eBay, which I checked, and no, there's not a single Wave 2 pony in sight on eBay or anywhere for that matter. And as much as I was criticizing these and calling them ugly, which they are, rightfully so, but for the sake of the completionist side of me, if you happen to have these figures and you're willing to part with them for, I don't know, however much, hit me up because I have some part of me that's like unrelenting completionist, so even if they're ugly, I still want them. So I don't know, if you have these and you're willing to let me buy them off of you, hit me up. Before we move on to Wave 3, we should probably discuss these collection boxes that came out the same year. Firstly, we got the Pony Collection Set. Wow, how long did it take for them to come up with that name? Anyways, this set includes the main 6 and the exclusive 6. Coconut Cream, Beach Berry, Sky Wishes, Peachy Pie, Sweet Song, and Gardenia Glow. Why, yes, it does piss me off how I'm missing a set exclusive character while I have the rest. Thanks for asking. This is basically like completing a jigsaw puzzle and finding out that one piece is missing. Anyways, originally I was going to give them a round of applause for going out of their way by designing 6 completely new characters and having the restraint to keep them as exclusive, but then I realized that they're all G3 characters. But on that topic, it's kind of funny how some of these G3 characters weren't even in the G3 show either, so it's kind of like these characters who aren't even real characters still have souls that reincarnate through the years in different generations. Spooky. Also, I know I went brutally hard on this Coconut Cream toy in the 3rd Inaccurate Toys video, but now I realize she wasn't even in the show till years after this toy was made. Whoopsies. Friendship Celebration Collection. Secondly, we got the Friendship Celebration Collection, which doesn't include any new figures at all. What it does have, though, is a bunch of questions that must be posed. Firstly, how does one play the piano with hooves? Those keys are tiny. Secondly, aside from how hooves are supposed to hold drumsticks, what are the implications of the My Little Pony logo being on this drum set at all? I'll just go ahead and graciously assume that this just so happens to be their band name, in order to not cause any universe-breaking plot holes. Anyways, why are these fellas stalking Rarity and Twilight? I would hope that this is just some kind of magazine with a story of them saving the world or something, as opposed to whatever else this was probably meant to be. Still, at least this works decent as world building to show who's friends with who. Though, imagine scouring through every store in town, spending hundreds of dollars and even taking a trip to Europe just to collect each and every Wave 1 and Wave 2 figure just to see this at your local Toys R Us. That sounds like it would have sucked. DVD sets. And finally, there were these DVDs that came packaged with Pinky and Twilight. I have never physically seen any of these in my life before, or at least as far as I know, but they feel super nostalgic and comfy for some reason. Let me know if you also feel the same way. Wave 3. Wow, another set of the main 6. How awesome. At least we get these new cards that are a total debuff of the Wave 1 ones. Whatever. Bit of luck. Wow, yet another member of the Luck family? Anyways, she looks like just another middle-of-the-road NPC pony. Like, not an eyesore, but not the prettiest. Still, this is a pretty interesting cutie mark. A ladybug. I wonder if she goes around saving Paris. Also, it's kind of interesting how her card says, Bit of Luck is always busy. Busy doing what? Saving Paris? Aside from that, there's really nothing more to Bit of Luck. She doesn't appear in the show or anything. I mean, there was this post where, in an unnamed Girl 15 enjoyer group, someone suggested that she could be the human version of Bit of Luck, which she's obviously not, since there's nothing ladybug related on her. But still, this made me realize how, since they refrained from adding too many human versions of ponies from the show as background characters in Equestria Girls, preferring to design completely new characters, if they didn't want all their humans to be repeats of ponies from the show for whatever reason, that would have been the perfect opportunity to base some of these human designs after these minifigures that don't appear in the main show. But oh well, Rainbow Shine. I have no idea how many people remember, but Rainbow Shine actually appears in the show. If you don't remember, I don't blame you because I didn't either. That's probably because she looks really generic, but I'm still glad that she got a figure. Anyway, since she's from 2010 episodes, with this toy coming out in 2012, we can finally go back to our roots and talk about how this figure is, say it with me now, inaccurate. First of all, this rainbow arc color is all wrong, and okay, it's actually kind of hard to judge these minifigures on the basis that they're recolors. Obviously, the main style is completely off, but I think we should probably cut it some slack. Then again, that's basically enabling lazy behavior from the toy company. Whatever, as a whole, she doesn't look that interesting. Rainbow Shine loves to leap into the sky. Oh really? What a coincidence, because I'm about to leap off a building from these lame designs. Golden Grape. Wow, our first male pony of the video. I did the math and so far, not including the glitters and alternate versions, females outnumber males in this universe 41-1. So either ponies can reproduce in a different method than real life horses, or Golden Grape is one lucky stallion. Anyways, this color scheme looks a bit like an abomination. Similar to Rainbow Shine, this guy actually appears in the show, and if you don't remember him, that's probably because in the show, he looks like this. At least with Rainbow Shine, they actually tried making the color similar. This is just... huh? It's one thing if a color scheme is accurate but hurts to look at. It's another thing if the color scheme is inaccurate but pleasant to look at. But for this, not only is the color scheme inaccurate, but it also hurts to look at. What were they thinking? And why does his cutie mark take up half his body? His card says, Golden Grape loves telling and hearing jokes. And that actually makes complete sense since this is a joke. Pinkie Pie glow in the dark. This looks like one of those like character dummy things. You know the ones I'm talking about. Too bad her card ain't anything too special. Also, wow, there's nothing more immersive as a kid playing with toys as these imprint numbers you can see from her normal pose. Golden Harvest. Golden Harvest? Don't you mean Carrot Top?
Carrot Top.
And also, don't you mean Bumble Sweet but with green eyes? It's kind of disgusting how these two basically look the exact same. Aside from that, once again, ignoring the fact that it's a recolor, they could have probably given her a lighter hue and it would have been completely fine. But no, I guess we gotta make sure that every yellow pony is super saturated and hurts your eyes. Now that I look at it though, she kind of reminds me of a Adagio. Anyways, what's with this card? Golden Harvest loves sharing treats from the garden. The garden? You're telling me that Ponyville only has one garden? That she loves sharing treats from the garden as opposed to her garden? Or is that because she likes to go beyond her garden? Sprinkle Stripe. I actually like her design, but all she reminds me of is that stupid story quest in the mobile game that forces you to spend gems on her to proceed. Though, either way, the game is pretty based for including a toy-exclusive character and making her the center of a mission. Though, it is kind of gross how her design in the game is also a recolor of Applejack. Now, that wouldn't be such a problem if they used the lesser-used vector of Applejack for her design, but the fact that they used the cardboard one that's seen everywhere is really stupid. But speaking of cardboard, isn't it amazing how her card says, Sprinkle Stripe loves to have sweets for dessert, which is odd since sweets such as cakes and Apple products seem to work as main courses in this universe, not just dessert. So I hope she has a good dental plan is all I'm saying. Sea Swirl. So I had no idea that this pony appeared in the show, but now that I'm inspecting her cutie mark, does this mean that ponies and dolphins are... Gah! Do dolphins fit in with their society, or are they seen more like pets? The only time dolphins appear in the flesh from my memory is from I'm on a Yacht, but that's Equestria Girl, so that doesn't answer the pony-related questions. The only other thing relating to ponies and dolphins I found was fan art of Sea Swirl and dolphins. Strange. Let's see what her card has to say about this. Sea Swirl loves to go swimming in the oceans. Well, if that's the case, I want to headcanon that she always loved swimming with an underwater breathing spell on just for it to fail. And just when she was about to drown, a dolphin came up and saved her life. And from there, she learned that she's a dolphin whisperer. That makes sense. Also, it's a huge shame that her design in the show is actually pretty cute, but the fact that her figure is a recolor of Rarity doesn't do her any justice. When I see the show, she looks like a cool gal I want to hang out with. This just looks snobby. Also, you got her main color wrong while at it, so congratulations. Big Macintosh. Fundamentally, I don't see what's wrong with this, but then if you actually look at this toy and his appearance side to side, the issues kind of become apparent. I understand them not wanting to model this thing that's around his neck, since they'd want to recolor this model for other male ponies, but then there's still other dumb mistakes. First of all, his cutie mark is the wrong way, his hooves aren't even colored in, and wasn't that hard to give him some freckles? Also, giving him more relaxed eyes like what we see in the show would have been really nice. It's kind of stupid how his card fixes his cutie mark and makes his tail also look a bit more accurate, but still, it looks pretty much nothing like how he looks in the show. I mean, at least Applejack's recolors cards all have freckles. Why couldn't they do the same here? Twilight Sparkle glow in the dark. Wow, we got another gummy on our hands. At least you can't see our production number, unlike Pinkie. I still can't get over that. Her normal figure obscures the print really well, so what gives? Apple Dazzle. Apple Dazzle? More like Apple Bumpkin. No, that's not a roast or anything. This is clearly supposed to be apple pumpkin. They have the same color pattern and cutie mark. So, also add to that, does she not just look like a weird version of Roseluck from earlier? None of this would have been a problem if they just got either one of their hair colors correct. Whatever, let's just take a look at her card. Apple Dazzle is so loyal to her friends. Bro thinks she Rainbow Dash. Love struck. If you take a look at this pony, what would you imagine her card would say? Judging by her color scheme and her cutie mark, aka her passion, one may assume that she likes, I don't know, matchmaking, or at least is interested in spreading love. Well, Lovestruck loves watching and playing sports. Huh! Where's the sports thing come from? Unless her cutie mark is talking about archery, the sport, which aside from her colors would make sense if you completely disregard the fact that her name is literally Lovestruck. Once again, the mobile game comes into clutch by adding in yet another toy exclusive character into the app. Now, I bring this up because her description in the game at least makes sense. Also, it seems like people took notice of this since there's artwork of Lovestruck and Forsythia, another toy exclusive pony we'll see much later, which really satisfies a part of my soul since some of these toy exclusive ponies are actually getting the attention that they deserve. Berry Shine. First of all, I'm really not a fan of this yellowish green eyeliner. Just because the original Rarity model features eyeliner doesn't mean that you have to give each and every one of her recolors one as well. Though it doesn't seem like the toy has it, so what gives? Though the most baffling part of this is she ain't even a unicorn in the show. That and she has curly hair, so why not make it a pinky recolor? This is just sloppy. And what kind of card is this? Berry Shine loves berries more than any pony. What, more than her own family? Bad design and bad personality. Moving on. Meadow Song. Wow, amazing how they got his eye color wrong. His main color is also a little off, but whatever. I'll give this guy a pass since I am a sucker for instrument-based ponies, even if it does raise the question of how you actually play them with hooves. At least the fact that now we're beginning to have Big Mac recolors is giving us some variety with male ponies, even if it's kind of dumb how females have 5 shapes while the guys only have 1. And a super boring and stale pose at that. Rarity Glow in the Dark. If we're comparing the card for this version of Rarity with the normal one also in this wave, the only thing that's changed, besides being flipped, is that her mane is now 1 color, which makes us wonder why this change was made. Technically, I guess her hair technically is 1 color in this figure, but this is like using a difficult formula, finding the correct equation, but still somehow getting the wrong answer. Like, what the actual Cherry Berry? Cherry Berry is so cheerful all the time. Wow, are you also cheerful when they get your eye color completely off? Or when they make it so that your cutie mark isn't even remotely similar? And they probably just ripped a random clip art of a cherry online and slapped it on without even thinking instead? You know, it's kind of funny how there's this one shot in an episode where she's an Applejack recolor. So this would have been the one case where her being an Applejack recolor would have been slightly excusable, but oh well. Lyra Heartstrings. Now, her design being completely off aside from now, what the actual is this card? She must have gotten sunburned really badly. Also, if there's going to be a recolor that looks this egregiously off, why not just at least try gaslighting us by using normal vectors of characters who actually appear in the show? This is just unacceptable. Anyways, for the figure, it's a little dumb how they made her entire mane and tail 1 color when the streaks on Twilight's mane and tail would have been the perfect place to make white on Lyra. There's been other figures that utilized the streak, so what gives? Noteworthy. Finally, a figure that gets the eye color and cutie mark accurate. Just kidding. Noteworthy is very helpful and remembers everything. He remembers everything. He remembers everything except for what his cutie mark and eye colors are supposed to be, apparently. Also, isn't it amazing how the wrong leg is being folded in his card compared to the figure? I know that there's probably only a grand total of 1 person in existence who notices and cares about stuff like this, but come on! Lucky Dreams. Before we talk about the figure itself, I actually have somewhat of a history with this pony in particular. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I first found out about this pony from the mobile game and thought, I don't remember her being in the show, which made me look her up to see that she's a toy exclusive character, which, I'm not joking, is pretty much what got me into the rabbit hole that is My Little Pony Blindbag figure lore, which pretty much snowballed into realizing how inaccurate these toys are, leading me to make this channel. So we've all got Lucky Dreams to thank for this channel's existence, I suppose. Anyways, maybe it's the fact that she doesn't appear in the show that makes me not get mad, since she can't be inaccurate, but I actually really like her design. Maybe it's just that toy exclusive characters have the liberty of making stranger and a bit more unconventional designs, but the fact that she ain't just another fruit or flower pony makes her stick out in a really good way. I'm not really sure what to make of her card description whatsoever though. Lucky Dreams is just so lucky all the time. It doesn't tell us anything about her character, but I'm content with how neat her design is for now. And man, am I glad to have ended this wave on such a good note. Now, before we get to the next wave, let us get a little less blind with our Blindbags and talk about these mini sets that came out this year. I'm gonna be pretty much speedrunning these since most of them are actually really good and accurate, so there's not much to say anyways. But I will go into vivid detail if something particularly rubs me the wrong way. Apple Family Set. It's interesting how they seem to have put in quite a bit of effort in modeling Granny Smith plus her walking aid, which is evidence that people in charge of these minifigures can make something that looks excellent if they actually try. Especially because this isn't even a mold that you can reuse as a Blindbag recolor, unlike the other two in the set. Class of Cutie Marks. Class of Cutie Marks? Is that a reference to how this set features Apple Bloom, who has no cutie mark? Way to rub it in her face. Though, speaking of which, isn't it awesome how because of the set, Apple Bloom is the only cutie mark crusader to get a minifigure in this fashion? I think that's awesome, and it totally doesn't trigger my completionist side whatsoever. Still, what an odd set. If it's called Class of Cutie Marks, shouldn't this set feature Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo instead of... Yeah, because who the hell was asking for another Applejack? Obviously, Applejack was included as a reference to the episode, but Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo were also introduced in that one, so why not just... Gah! At least Diamond Tiara looks pretty cool. Cloudsdale set. I suppose this is a cool set, mainly for Gilda. And as for someone who doesn't care about Gilda nor Griffins at all, this still does look pretty slick. There's also this random Wonderbolt included, who is clearly surprise, but I guess they called her Wonderbolt's pony instead of saying her name to keep it as a surprise. Famous friends. Like I said about all these set exclusive characters so far, these two look fantastic. As long as you don't look at them from the front. Also, isn't it amazing how we spent actual money on these just to only show them on screen for like 2 seconds and moving right on to the next set? Pony Wedding. Alright, so these two new models are pretty cool, but since when did Princess Cadence get a sunburn? It's strange how Shining Armor's cutie mark also got sunburned. Also, interesting how they gave his eyes a black outline, rather than having no outline and making the eyeballs light blue like in the show. Other than that, this is a pretty neat set. Spa Pony set. There's not much to say besides Zecora looks pretty cool and accurate. I guess it's kind of odd how Lotus is in the set whereas Aloe isn't, but that's because this is based on that one scene in one particular episode. It's actually kind of sad how Lotus will go on to be re-released in later Blindbag waves, but Aloe never got a figure of her own, as a Blindbag at least. But we'll get to that way later. Cake Family Babysitting Fun. What a mouthful. Still, what a cool set this is. It's so specific to like one episode, and it sucks that the later season episodes never got super specific toy sets based on them like this. The babies look like aliens, which is kind of gross, but this is a really nice set. It's a little weird how Pinky is shoehorned in there just because of the babysitting episode, which makes sense, but I really wish that they would have used opportunities like this to make other variants. Perhaps a figure of Pinky smeared in flour from the episode, or this piggy or diaper version. I don't know. Just anything that would prevent me from having 5 billion default Pinkies. Elements of Harmony Friends. I don't get why this wasn't the set they released way earlier to tie in with the first episode. Especially because now we have an accurate Fluttershy, woohoo! Plus, all of these unique molds look amazing. Emphasis on unique. This one doesn't count because it's going to be reused to death really soon. Also, it looks really off. Obviously, I don't expect figures to have glowing and gaseous hair, but come on! I mean, the colors and everything. Not to mention how Nightmare Moon doesn't even have a crown. Also, curiously, the boxed art shows this Manticore was definitely not what we see in the show. It's not even the concept art of it. I would have thought that this was some random stock photo of a Manticore if it weren't for the thorn in its paw. Maybe it's a later stage concept art? Also, it's really cool how they actually gave Rarity a short tail variant as a reference to when she cuts it off in the episode. But if you're gonna do variants, why not just do some for the other repeats of the main 6 in these sets? Strange how her tail is normal in the box art though. Royal Surprise set. Alright, the Twilight in this set has a glowing cutie mark and horn, so I guess that's kinda neat. I don't remember if that's a reference to something from the episode, but I'm too lazy to check, so let me know if you know. Anyways, isn't it depressing how this is the only minifigure of Queen Chrysalis ever released? At least it looks really cool, though instead of Princess Celestia, they should have probably put in a changeling or something. At least she looks pretty freaking accurate for what it is, even if all that goes to show is that this Alicorn model was specifically made for Celestia with everything else as an afterthought. Also, she looks really funky from the front, but that's pretty accurate to the show. Anyways, back to our Blindbag waves. Anyways, judging by how much of an improvement Wave 3 was over Wave 2, my unrelenting optimism says that Wave 4 must be even better. I know in my heart of hearts that Wave 4 will be the best wave yet. I can't wait to see what new cool character designs with hopefully even more vibrant color contrast I bet there will be. So let's open this up. I think the dumbest part of this wave isn't the fact that they're all glitter versions, but the fact that these are all glitter versions of ponies who won't even get normal appearances until Wave 6. To reiterate, these exact ponies that are in this wave, Wave 4, they become normal versions in Wave 6 instead of the other way around. Huh? Just to make this a little less stupid, we'll just talk about these when we get to Wave 6. Most of the ponies in this wave were re-released with newer designs 4 years later in wave 15, just so that we don't have to repeat the exact same points later on. It'd be more efficient to just talk about the two versions of the re-released figures at the same time. Plus, it'd be easier to compare and contrast, so let's just get started. Starting off with a pony who actually wasn't released again in wave 15. Princess Cadence. Now, are my eyes deceiving me, or is this hair color completely freaking inaccurate? Same with the cutie mark, like what the f***? They didn't even put the yellow in her tail either. Also, her body type is a recolor of the Princess Celestia that we just saw, which explains this weird design on her hooves, since they're not going to get rid of these as it's more efficient to just paint them the same color as her skin instead. But get this, Cadence also has these things on her hooves. So why did they leave them blank? Not to mention her card. As horrendous as those recolors of the main 6 are, at least they're somewhat in-show style. This is probably just traced over from a picture of the actual figure itself. Ah! Sunny Rays. Wow, nice to see that Fluttershy keeps getting... Wait, this isn't Fluttershy? Sunny Rays? What are you talking about? Sunny Rays has a lot of bright ideas to share. Are these ideas you want to share also stolen from Fluttershy like your design? Her appearance in the show looks pretty much nothing like this, and while I get that this is the only Pegasus model we've had so far, the better alternative would have probably just been to not make this altogether. Either that or actually make the colors relative to what we see in the show. Oddly enough, the picture on the brushable overcompensates the purple color of her mane, which is inaccurate, but it would have at least made this look not identical to Fluttershy. But speaking of which, the Wave 15 version of her doesn't help at all since they made her colors even more like Fluttershy. All I can say is that I sure do hope that Ponyville has a really good identity theft protection program. Junebug. One question with this little guy. Did they even try? Like, what the fuck? I mean, this is the figure in the thumbnail of my most viewed video, so thanks for existing, I guess. But what the f***? I mean, to be fair, this is definitely supposed to resemble the G3 Junebug, but even then, the colors could be better and the G3 version isn't even a unicorn. Like, even the My Little Pony wiki is confused at this. The toy uses the Rarity minifigure toy mold and somewhat resembles G3 Junebug. Somewhat resembles? However, it's just baffling since this figure came out in 2012 when the character was introduced in 2011. This wouldn't be so stupid if they just picked literally any other G3 pony to make a minifigure of. I guess for what it is, it's good. If by good, you mean the Rarity version of Cherry Berry, none of this would be a problem if they just made her look normal. Curiously, the re-release has this weird line over her eyelid. What an awesome and necessary change. Breezy. Breezy? More like the Pegasus version of Ariane. It's actually kind of hard to find any background information on this pony since she doesn't appear in the show, and most results that come from looking up MLP Breezy are, well, MLP Breezies. But we do know that she's from G3 and that she originally came with a scooter. Why couldn't this version come with a scooter? Though, judging by how her card says, Breezy loves to go flying on windy days. It's amazing how she suddenly has wings unlike her G3 counterpart then, isn't it? Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to enjoy flying whatsoever. Overall, I like these unique, unconventional color patterns on these ponies that only G3-based ones really seem to be bringing, if done right at least. And this is an example of it being done right. I actually like how specifically different her cutie mark is. I'd say she's the best one in this wave so far, definitely. It doesn't seem like there was any noticeable change in the 2016 version, but they did change her name to Breezy Flora, which makes looking her up way easier, so thanks for that. Very cool. Island Rainbow. Remember how I literally just said that I like these unique, unconventional color patterns on these ponies that only G3-based ones seem to be bringing, if done right at least? Well, here's an example that isn't done right. It's weird when you see that this card has the colors so much closer to what she's based on rather than the toy. Curiously, the updated version of her is so much more accurate and even looks kind of pleasant, even if they changed her name for some reason. Though just like Junebug, she has this weird line on her eyelid. It's presumably the line that tells someone or something where this mold's eyeshadows are supposed to go if the design calls for some. But why would they not get rid of it when printing these out? Though this is nothing compared to our next pony, Princess Luna. What is going on with her mane and with this card? Princess Luna stays up late to watch the stars. I mean, okay, this seems like something that somebody who hasn't even seen the show wrote based on the fact that there's a little moon design on her. Speaking of design, is this based on the season 1 version of her or the season 2 one? Both episodes where she appears aired before this toy came out, so pick your poison since it doesn't look like either. Her skin color looks more like the season 1 version, but you completely messed up the mane by giving her multiple colors. It probably takes more effort to add more colors rather than just not doing it, but sure. If they just kept her mane and tail as one color and maybe just colored her crown black, I think this would have looked fine and would have been a pretty epic Luna figure, but no. I think the so close yet so far factor kind of makes this the worst one on the wave so far. Sapphire Shores. Where the f do I even start with this one? Well, to point the obvious out first, her mane is the wrong color. Her skin is the wrong color. Her eyes are also the wrong color. And the worst part is, Sapphire Shores isn't even a unicorn. That's and how the best description they could think of for the pony of pop, with impeccable fashion sense and a member of high society, was Sapphire Shores loves to collect pretty seashells. What, as opposed to average to ugly looking seashells? I mean, I guess whoever's in charge of these cards must have been a time traveler and heard my roast from the future, since the 2016 version actually fixes this. Anyways, it wouldn't be too hard to convince somebody that these two are actually just two completely different ponies with the same name, if their cutie marks weren't suspiciously similar. Though, I believe the real Sapphire Shores' cutie mark was revealed through the brushable, since they forgot to give her a cutie mark in the first episode she appears in, and the other episode where she's like a main focus in, she's wearing this. So my guess is that they probably just looked through their archives and reused the cutie mark from a random pony named Sapphire Shores for the brushable. Still, the problem is that they're not exactly the same, which means that they had to go back and redesign it. Does that mean that they really are different ponies with the same name and similar cutie marks? If they are the same pony, you would think that they could have at least made her a pinky recolor, but oh well. Her re-release doesn't fix any of these issues either, only makes her mane and tail one color. Flippity flop. Honestly, when I first saw her, I thought she was a bit of an eyesore, but I think her design has grown on me a bit. It is a little dumb how she was originally an earth pony, but now she's magically a unicorn. Still, they got her colors actually right, which is impressive. Now, what are we to make of her cutie mark being a pair of flip-flops when ponies can't wear flip-flops? Her card tries mending this by saying her name is really a reference to how she changes her mind a lot but always has fun. Nice safe, but come on, this is a little stupid. What else is stupid is how the 2016 version makes the colors less accurate, which actually is a good indicator of the evolution of these figures we're going to be seeing through this video. As in, the coloring in the newer one is more pleasant to look at, but at the cost of being significantly less G3-esque, losing some of that late 2000s, early 2010s charm. But we'll get there when we get there. Gardenia Glow. The funny thing about this is how I thought she was supposed to be an exclusive. Congratulations, you made the set a little less special in one foul swoop. Or I guess in two foul swoops since she was also re-released. Though it seems like there was a bit of a color change between all three versions, so there's that. Anyways, her card says, Gardenia Glow knows how to make a garden grow. Would this be better or worse if this said, knows how to make a garden glow instead? Would that have been a better fit for her name, or would that have been too on the nose? I can't tell. Still, at least this is the only case of this happening to this exclusive set of ponies. I would hate it if the value of the set was tarnished even more. Sky Wishes. But she's also from the Pony Collection set. To be fair, they did slightly change her design too, but it's barely noticeable if you don't know what you're looking for. At least the 2016 redesign looks like it might as well be a different character altogether. You fixed one problem by causing another. Congratulations. But still, why are we reusing these set exclusive characters anyway? Did we seriously run out of other G3 ponies to recycle? Also, isn't it just fantastic how they got her colors 100% correct on her card? Where did they get yellow from? Her brushable has yellow randomly added in her mane, which is probably where this is getting its reference from, but there's no yellow at all on either versions of the figure, so Trixie Lulamoon. The fact that this is apparently synonymous with this aside, let's talk about her tail color. You've purposely made Rarity's mold have two different colors on the inner and outer tail for a reason, even if it's not the most accurate decision for Rarity. Therefore, utilize it? I mean, what is this? They realized this perfectly on her card, so what's the issue here besides laziness? In what world is her tail fully white? Is it the one where her cutie mark is also flipped? Actually, judging by how her 2016 version fixes her tail and cutie mark, I guess so. Speaking of which, isn't it awesome how she got a debuff when they redid her card? She went from being great at magic tricks to just sharing them. Diamond Rose. Funny thing about her, she's supposed to be a Fluttershy recolor according to her brushable, but ended up as a Rainbow Dash recolor because Fluttershy doesn't have her own mold, or at least as far as the Blindbag side of these minifigures are concerned anyway. That is genuinely so stupid I can't even begin to explain. Design-wise, she kind of resembles Lauren Faust's Pony Sona, which is pretty cool, or at least the original version does. Other than that, there's literally nothing else to add about her. I mean, she appears in the comics as one of Princess Cadence's friends from school, so I guess that's cool. What's not cool is how the proper Fluttershy mold was introduced into the Blindbags by the time of the re-release, so you might as well have made it consistent with the original box art and taken this one opportunity to fix it, but no. Cinnamon Breeze. At first, I had no idea what her cutie mark was supposed to be, but looking at her G3 design, we can see that it's a nice steamy cinnamon bun, which makes for an awesome cutie mark. But honestly, that's pretty much all this figure has going for it. Her colors look like stuff we've seen 100 times before already. Her cards are boring. Her 2016 redesign isn't that notable. I guess I could slightly compliment how they didn't make her a pinky recolor because that would have been really stupid, but that's pretty much it for her. Plumette. First off, what the heck is her cutie mark? Reading her card, Plumette dreams of becoming a princess someday. Would have me believe that it's a heart with a crown on it. Nothing wrong with that, but how did she get this? Did she get this when she discovered she's going to devote the rest of her life to dreaming about becoming a princess rather than actually getting it when she really becomes one? Judging by her 2016 card, Plumette follows her dreams Did she change her life plans or what? It's kind of depressing because the 2016 version actually looks older because she's full of less color, doesn't have big childlike eyes anymore, and looks thinner, probably from aging. Did she realize that she's never gonna become a princess and gave up on that? Like, that's kind of sad. Not to mention how she was also supposed to be a Fluttershy recolor, but sure. Golden Delicious. Let me just rip the bandage straight off. Her design is disgusting. Like, what are these colors? The strange thing about this is how she's based off this G3 pony, judging by the main colors in Cutie Mark. So why did they change her perfectly fine-looking white to a green? Her design on the card looks fine, which probably means that she wouldn't look too weird if she was animated in the show or whatever. Unless if she was in the show. I mean, Golden Delicious. Come to think of it, that does sound pretty familiar. I should look it up. What does she look like in the show? Okay, this wouldn't be so baffling if the wiki didn't treat these two as the same character. Anyways, isn't it awesome how redesign looks like a completely different pony? They probably did this because the old version is gross looking and they realized that. But still, so at that point, why not just double down and make her white like she's supposed to be? Ribbon wishes. Though, speaking of gross looking eyesores, though, unlike Golden Delicious, her card does not seem to do her any favors whatsoever, and she would look disgusting if she was animated in the show. This is strange since she's based off this G3 pony who looks completely fine, design-wise at least. And this is coming from a guy who actually usually finds G3 ponies to be absolutely ugly. I don't understand why they didn't just keep her as an Earth pony. But speaking of which, there's not a single Pinky or Applejack mold pony in this entire wave, and that really works against the favor of ponies like Ribbon Wishes, who would probably look way better as a Pinky or Applejack recolor. Her redesign is a little better, I think, probably because they cooled down on her colors a lot, but I still don't like it. If I were to give her some character, I think she'd be like the teenage version of Diamond Tiara, spoiled and entitled from her rich and powerful parents, with her Cutie Mark referencing how she always orders her family butlers and maids around to obey her every wish and command. That would actually excuse how snobby she looks. Wow. Hasbro, I just did you a huge favor by making this disgusting looking pony and giving you an actual free story from it. You're welcome. Princess Celestia. Isn't it awesome how this is the exact same Princess Celestia from the set, but now with her Cutie Mark on the other side of her body for some reason? And her shoes are now uncolored? And also with this boring card. Princess Celestia is a magical and beautiful pony. The only thing interesting about this card is how this solid color behind her Cutie Mark is pink, when all the other cards have solid colors behind their Cutie Marks be their skin color. So, how did this happen? Forsythia. Once again, we've got to thank the mobile game for making this pony famous, since buying her from the shop is one of the first quests that the game puts you on. She seems to be based on this G3 pony, but this is one instance where I actually agree with the inaccurate color change, since this looks so much less generic. The only notable thing that the redesign did was adding this black line over her eyelid, which looks really gross. This is the one rarity recolor I was actually growing fond of. And now you've ruined it. Thank you, I almost accidentally ended one of these on a positive note. My bad, Flitterheart. Just like Diamond Rose, Flitterheart is also supposed to be a Fluttershy recolor, but because they didn't have a Fluttershy model at the time of her initial release, they just made her look like this. And just like Diamond Rose, they didn't fix this even with Fluttershy's actual mold being introduced in the Blindbags later on. But speaking of the 2016 version, I guess that wave really hated having multicolored manes and tails, since look at their freaking cards! Though, to be fair, even if having weird clashing colors on a figure is bad design-wise, as a kid purchasing a blind bag, I would actually rather get something like this rather than something bland like this. At least this would actually stake out on shelf. Rainbow Wishes. Honestly, she's kind of cool. She's got a very unique color combination, and her Cutie Mark looks like it has some kind of deep meaning to it, that she could actually be a main character. If you think about it, there's probably a deeper meaning and backstory to this Cutie Mark rather than I don't know, say Applejack's. The stupid part is how the newer version is such a downgrade. Doesn't this kind of look like a prototype rather than something that should actually be sold for money? Just compare their card designs. The newer one looks lamer. But speaking of which, the card says, Rainbow Wishes chases rainbows across the sky. Is that the pony euphemism version of chasing the dragon? But none of that matters since this is the pony that she's based off of. What the f***? At least somebody 12 years ago was inspired enough to draw art of her. Rest easy, Rainbow Wishes. Lyra Heartstrings. Alright, so, what's happening with her tail? Since, just like what I said about Trixie and with a Wave 3 version of Lyra, Twilight's model has a spot where you can put a highlight, and Lyra's tail from the show doesn't look like one color to me. Her card shows two colors on her tail, which makes this all the more stupid. Still, this looks fine all things considered, and is an improvement over the old one, since her mane actually looks like there was more thought put into it. Though once again, her Wave 15 version would get rid of the one thing that made this an improvement over the Wave 3 version. They even made her Cutie Mark less accurate. Fantastic. I have no idea if these two waves, Wave 4 and 6, were somehow released in the wrong order. As we'll soon see, Wave 4 feels like a direct response to Wave 6, despite the fact that they came out in reverse order. Unless if Wave 4 was supposed to be a teaser for 2 waves into the future, which is really stupid and unnecessary. I mean, Wave 4 is stupid and unnecessary regardless of whatever its intentions were, but let's go through these two anyways. Minuet. I like the colors on the figure, but after looking through how she looks like in the show, I'm thinking that it would have been really awesome if they made her eyes kind of more expressive. That, and we've been through this 100 times, but her mane having multiple colors would have been fantastic as well. It's stupid how her card gives her mane some coloring, but it's still completely off. Anyways, there's not really much more to say about the Wave 4 glitter version, besides the fact that it's just a, glittery. Same with literally every other pony from Wave 4. It really isn't worth bringing up every single time. Still, I'll have the variant up on the screen whenever I'm talking about the pony just so you can see how they all look. That, and I actually spent money on these, so they ought to see the light of day as well. Rose Luck. Have these people not heard of If It Ain't Broke, Don't Fix It? This re-release is way less accurate than the original from Wave 1. They got it perfectly fine the first time around, so why would they remake her out of all ponies? Only possible reason I could think of would be the fact that she had somewhat of a fan following back in the day. But by that logic, you'd expect them to have made figures of other background ponies with more of a fan following. In other words, this should not exist. Trixie Lulamoon. Alright, so last wave, there was this Trixie, and now we have this. Wave's 4 glitter version was at the rarity mold, as is the card for this Trixie. The stupidest part is the main color. Her mane was perfectly fine on the Wave 5 card, so what gives? This is like really dumb. Not to mention how our US and European cards say something completely different for some reason, when every other pony has pretty much the exact same thing written for both. The change in the European version is genuinely the stupidest thing you could have put there. If this is a reference to the Ursa Major from her episode, which it honestly could be, shouldn't it say Constellation instead? Also, the European version just lists her off as Lulamoon instead of Trixie Lulamoon. Okay? Anyways, the gimmick for this figure is how she has a star gem thingy on her cutie mark. Kinda like Twilight Velvet. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm assuming they made Trixie in Twilight's mold just because they designed Twilight Velvet as a Twilight recolor and they wanted to give her this special gem since Twilight in this wave also has this, but we're too lazy to give multiple molds to these gems. Anyways, Twilight Velvet looks enough like her daughter as it is in the show, so making this a recolor isn't a huge deal, but could they seriously not give her a white streak in her mane and tail and make her coat a bit darker? Ideally, they would have given her Pinky's eyes too, but whatever. Anyways, the most frustrating thing about this figure, besides all those inaccuracies, is how there's not a version of this without this special cutie mark, unless if you count the glitter from Wave 4. Once again, I don't particularly like these gimmicks and variants, but I don't mind them existing either. I just prefer if they made normal versions of them first. Mosley Orange. Mostly orange? Nah, I think he looks mostly yellow. Honestly, design-wise, besides the overall mold being held back from being a recolor, I can't really complain too much. The actual colors are pretty spot on for what it is, and the actual pony doesn't have multiple colors in his hair, which seem to be tripping up this wave so far. Honestly, it's kind of stupid how out of every pony in this wave, this is the guy who gets to be more accurate than others. It's also really stupid how the glitter version has the cutie mark on the other side for some reason. Berry Green. Berry Green? She's pink. She doesn't look very green to me. Berry Green has a lot of friends she can always count on, but can her friends count on her? Or does she only involve herself in friendships where she's allowed to take advantage of others, but nobody can ask her for any favors? Anyways, we're finally back to some Toyline exclusive ponies like the good old days, it seems. Like, she ain't even based on a G3 pony. That means I can go back to spewing more headcanons. Judging by how Berry Green's cutie mark is green grapes, I think she'd have some kind of rivalry with Sugar Grape from Wave 1, whose cutie mark is purple grapes. Also, because she's an Applejack recolor and Sugar Grape is a Rainbow Dash recolor, I think it'd be funny if they had a similar dynamic to those two, like we see in, as much as I hate the episode, Fall Weather Friends.
You're a mighty good athlete. I'm just bitter.
Also, Golden Grape can be her brother to give them an Applejack and Big Mac dynamic too. I think I just put more thought into this character than the entire collective staff members throughout the company's entire existence. Anyways, even though her color scheme and cutie mark are boring as fuck, the fact that she was able to inspire the headcanon that I just came up with seems like it's a good return to form from when I had to say all those things about the Wave 1 ponies. Mary May. Let me get this straight. When a character has multiple colors in their mane in the show, you give them one color on the toy. Whereas if a character has one color in their mane in the show, you give them multiple colors on the toy? What? Her card even has different colors on her mane that matches neither the show design nor the toy design. Well, this sucks since I'm actually a fan of Mary May. She's got cool colors and just seems like a fun pony to hang around. This, on the other hand, is disgusting. The glitter version also just looks radioactive, and the card for it looks like some mossy swamp critter. Gah. Cherry spices. We have finally reached the cherry spices version 2 that I mentioned way earlier in the video. And like I said earlier, this looks so much better and less repulsive than the other one. There's not much more to add to her that I didn't mention in Wave 1. She doesn't have a glitter variant or anything. Though I do want to add that her card's design still remained the same as a rarity recolor. You know, Hasbro, I'm sure there were thousands and thousands of neat bronies who would have gladly done these card designs for next to nothing. Why would you not take advantage of that? It would have been cheap or even free labor, and it would have made your fans happy, and it would have seemed like you actually care about quality, but this isn't just lazy, this is a huge missed opportunity. Electric Sky. Similar to what I said about Mary May, I actually really like the show design of this character, but this figure really doesn't do her any justice. I genuinely don't understand how hard it could possibly be to just color in the streak of the mains that you purposefully put grooves in order to help you color them in. And what's with this card? Electric Sky has so many smart ideas to share. Was it so hard to say bright instead of smart? The pun was right there! Also, it's stupid how she ironically looks more like Sapphire Shores than the actual Sapphire Shores figure. Aside from that, I actually think that her glitter variant is fine because she represents electricity anyways, and this glitter version looks like an electrified version of her. Crimson Gala. Judging by her cutie mark, this seems to actually be Red Gala from the show. But judging by literally everything else on this figure, I don't think she's supposed to be anything. Like, colors aside, I think she would have worked way better as an Applejack recolor. Okay, like, obviously this figure was meant to be her, but can we at least try with the colors, please? Her card actually had this figured out, which is just all the more insulting. Amethyst Star. This actually is a pretty interesting case. I mean, her colors aren't that off, the eye color is correct, and the cutie mark looks fine. However, that doesn't really seem to be enough here. I think this might actually be the first time where I'm not willing to look past the fact that this is a recolor. Surely you've all picked up on the fact that I've been very patient with how detrimental to being accurate these recolors are. And that was because I was judging these by what they are. Cheaply made blind bake stuff that wasn't even like designed to be super accurate to the show anyways. However, this is the first one that genuinely just crosses the line for me. In what world can you get this from this? Either take the hit and make a new mold to look like you actually give a damn about your consumers, or just don't make her in the first place. Like, come on, we can do better than this. Twilight Sky. I didn't even realize that this guy appeared in the show, but isn't it funny how, according to the wiki, he is an Earth Pony both in his first in-show appearances and in all merchandise, while he is a Pegasus in most in-show appearances. Well, that sounds arbitrary. Why not make him a Pegasus as a toy? There's this other gray Pegasus figure we're going to be seeing much later on, who actually looks like Twilight Sky more than this figure due to his colors being much closer. Which is stupid. Isn't it strange how they made his cutie mark blue for some reason when it's white in the show? Speaking of which, his card shows that his cutie mark to be the color it is in the show. Also, like what we saw earlier, the glitter version of this guy is flipped for some reason. Did they just not determine which side to make the stallion model its main side? Because the female models have a clear front and back side to determine where their cutie mark should go, but with the way that these males are modeled, either way works. And there's not really much of a problem with it, but it is confusing. Sassaflash. I sort of give up. What can I really say about this that doesn't apply to literally every other figure of this caliber? I've said this for a couple other ponies so far, but just changing the eyes really would have gone a long way in making these characters look a lot more accurate. The reason I keep bringing this up as a solution is because they actually go on to do this later on. Not in any way that matters, but all that means is that doing so was always an option. I'm honestly done. Done. There's no way that this toy line is ever gonna redeem itself, ever. Magnet Bolt. Wait. She looks awesome. Maybe this toy line can be redeemed after all. This is precisely the type of blind bag exclusive ponies that made Wave 1 so magical. Having random objects and unique colors create this really strange blend that opens up our imaginations to great wonders. Oh, hi, Bad News Crow. Haven't seen you in a while. Probably because everything's starting to turn around, which is nothing but good news. You only show up whenever you've got bad news to deliver, so what brings you here?
You do realize that this guy appears in the show, right?
Guy? You mean girl, right?
I said what I said. See?
Huh?
I told you so.
Okay, to be fair, this guy didn't appear in the show for 3 years after this toy was released, which, his or her card literally says she, so what gives? The strange thing is how, just like Lily Blossom was released twice in the same wave with slightly different colors, Magnet Bolt was also released twice in this wave with and without eyelashes. A possible theory as to what happened is that they were tasked to create a male pony with this design that specifically had to be a unicorn, but because there's no male unicorn mold, they just did this, since stallion designs don't have eyelashes. But I guess whoever was in charge of the cars just didn't get the memo for that? Or I don't know, judging by the fact that the magnet on the no eyelash version is kind of printed weird, maybe this was just an error, or I don't know. Still, because she was originally a toy exclusive pony, yes, I would say that along with Berry Green from earlier, this is a bit of a return to Wave 1's magic. Never mind, forget literally everything I said here, because as I was doing additional research while editing this video, it turns out that Magnet Bolt was actually supposed to appear in a Season 1 episode, which we know thanks to the fact that all the animation assets for Season 1 got leaked or something. So yes, I was technically right that they were tasked to make a male pony that looks like this, but they didn't have a male unicorn mold, so they just ended up not giving him the eyelashes. But also, it still doesn't make any sense why the card would say she then. I don't know, back to your regularly scheduled program. Royal Riff. Just because we went through a pony who I really like, I won't let this guy's inaccurate colors get to me just yet. My main complaint is that, once again, this guy's glitter form is flipped. To make matters even weirder, the cards on the glitter version of these men were always facing the left when the figures are facing the right. That's stupid! Peachy Sweet. What does her show appearance look like? You know, this is me getting so frustrated that I think we should just play a game instead to cool things off. Let's play Spot the Difference. The rules are very simple. I'll present two images and you just circle where the two images differ. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Just kidding, because if we were to do it with these two, we'd be playing well until the sun blows up. Like, the only thing lazier than being a recolor is literally not recoloring half of the appearance. Chance a lot. Wow, I sure do love how they got his name and hair color super correct. His card reads, Chance-a-lot is always cheerful and trying new things. Can one of these new things be putting out accurate toys? The stupidest and perhaps the most arbitrary part about this figure is how he's not flipped in the glitter version. They couldn't even get their own errors consistent. Let's just move on to the final pony of the wave, Shoe Shine. Wow, I sure do love how they got her main colors perfect. Don't you love how our designers saw this and thought that this was a perfectly acceptable depiction of her? The actual dumbest part of this is how the glitter version of her seems to have a more detailed and accurate version of her cutie mark. It's also stupid how the card for the glitter version actually somehow has her main color be closer to what it is in the show. Let's move on. Before all else, I should reiterate, Wave 4, the one with all the glitter versions, was released before Wave 6, the wave with the original versions. So at the point of Wave 4 being released, there weren't non-glitter versions of these characters, including ponies a lot of fans would probably want to have a normal version of. The dumbest part is how two of the very few ponies that have actually been positive towards this wave, Cherry Spices and Magnet Bolt, didn't get any glitter versions. Their slots in Wave 4 were taken by metallic versions of the main 6, which actually do look pretty slick, especially their cards. These look stupid, but they're still pretty funny. Honestly, I'm really starting to miss the monstrosity that was Wave 2 because as much of an eyesore as most of it was, at least it was full of unique characters that actually gave me a lot to talk about. Wave 4 and Wave 6 was just 99% boring. I really hope this isn't the sign of things to come. Pinkie Pie and Friends mini collection. Well, golly, this might actually be a good sign of where we're headed next. 7 new ponies that aren't even in the show? I mean, they are all based off of G3 characters, but still, these look pretty awesome, especially Waterfire. I actually really like the colors in Cutie Mark. Also, Pick-a-Lily, really? More like Lemon Zest. Yeah, some of these do look a little generic, but still, these 7 seem like a package deal, so they're fine. The only thing that rubs me the wrong way with this set is how they drew Applejack with a hat on the box, yet her figure does not have the hat, which is pretty much the My Little Pony equivalent of getting spat in your face. That and how the set is literally called Pinkie Pie and Friends, and Twilight and Fluttershy are nowhere to be seen. Perhaps Pinkie doesn't actually see them as friends. What the heck? But on that topic, I think it's pretty funny how, because the set has G3 exclusive ponies, and they're apparently Pinkie's friends, it seems like Pinkie has like intergenerational travel powers, which would actually explain this. Pony Rainbow Collection. The next set released was this Target exclusive Pony Rainbow Collection. This set features the trillionth appearance of glitter versions of the main 6, plus this random guy. It's interesting how there was this theory that came out before Season 3 came out. Still, I get where this is coming from, since it really seems like a strange and random inclusion. This Emerald Ray doesn't appear in the show, though they were probably just trying to make a full rainbow with this set. Anyways, looking at the back of this box shows Boy Pony. Though you would think that if Boy Pony was such a good selling point, they would have introduced more prominent male characters into the show at this point. I mean, it makes sense if like the target demographic of these toys want to play house and have like a husband and a wife or whatever, and Boy Pony might actually be a good tactic to sell these, but the character's still super random, especially because this is the only appearance of him anywhere and there's no non-glitter version of him. So we don't even know what he actually looks like, unless if you count this prototype/error version of him that obviously went unreleased. Though I guess this might actually be an unintentional clue as to what he might have looked like fully colored. Also, at least this prototype/error lets us see his cutie mark more clearly. Anyways, the set also promises stickers, but they're really nothing too notable. Moving on. After the garbage fire disappointment that was Wave 4, a retroactive repurpose of Wave 6, which in turn was also just a frustratingly inaccurate wave, surely we'll get some new cool ponies in this wave. Haven't we suffered enough? Alright, so as dumb as these exclusively variant waves are getting, at least barred the main 6, all of these are new ponies, so let's give them a look. Cherry Pie. Isn't it amazing how her brushable shows her as a rarity recolor, but this figure is a Twilight one? Regardless of any of that, this is a bad sign of things to come. Cool toy exclusive characters with genuinely pleasant colors that are cursed to only exist as this weird translucent variant. It seems like I really took the first 2 waves for granted since they were chock full of new characters and didn't rely on variant versions to carry it. Though, we'll come back to this. Apple Fritter. Finally, we're actually giving some dynamic to the eyes. And you know what? It actually pays off. She looks goofy, which just gives her that extra little special thing to like about her in specific. Was that so hard? Also, there's this huge extra boost that this figure gets, since in the show, she actually has these bow things in her hair that the Applejack mold has been forcing everyone in her body type to have so far, even when it makes no sense. Just for that, I want to say that this is a pretty solid figure. Emphasis on I wanna. The fact that she's this translucent version with no normal version of her existing is just frustrating. Still, let's just take this as a sign of the fact that they're gonna add more dynamic eyes in the future. Interesting how her card doesn't change her eyes at all, when that would have been pretty cool. Banana Fluff. It's kind of stupid how this pony's name involves bananas, but nothing about her design invokes any feelings of bananas whatsoever, except her color, maybe. Everything to do with her character just involves jewelry. Is banana a jewelry term for something that I'm not aware of? Still, apparently her cutie mark when it's not covered is this in Season 2, whereas the figure has this. Then apparently she has this one in Season 5. This wouldn't be so stupid if this toy came out after Season 5 and was based on her appearance then. But this was released between Seasons 3 and 4. That's kind of stupid. Lilac Lynx. Wow, yet another figure in this wave that's actually pretty accurate but falls apart due to being a translucent thing. I guess wearing a good look charm still wasn't enough to escape the wrath of being lost potential. Cherry Fizzy. Same with this fella. Perhaps the only reason I think these figures are getting better despite the fact that they're variant versions is because they're variant versions. Like, if this guy was a solid color, I'd probably just be complaining about how lame it looks and also how the cutie mark is flipped from the show design. Though, according to this screenshot featuring an animation error, this figure would be very accurate on the other side since it wouldn't have the cutie mark there either. See? I can focus on the positives. Misty Fly. Oh hey look, a new mold just dropped. And it looks pretty sick. And because of how sick this looks, I think it being transparent actually works in its favor. But that's really only because of this pony's colors in specific and probably the outfit. Since it makes more sense for a costume like this to be glowing as opposed to, I don't know, your f***ing skin. I think it's incredibly intelligent how they claim that this is her cutie mark when it's just the logo that other Wonderbolts have. Her actual cutie mark is never shown in the show, so fair enough, I guess. Banana Bliss. Finally, a banana-related pony who actually invokes imagery of bananas. This calls for a celebration. I got so caught up in the moment that I forgot that I can't stand bananas. I wish I was joking right now, but oh, there's tears and everything. Oh my, holy crap. If you ever see me in real life and you want to treat me out to food, make sure that this food item in question does not involve bananas, because I'm not going to spit it out because that's a waste of food, but no. And also, look, it's bright outside. Can you tell that this video is taking forever to film? Still, I really like this pony's design, and I'm glad that she's in the game as well. It seems like it's been a hot minute since I last mentioned these ponies that got put into the game, so I'm glad that it feels like we're actually returning to form for realsies this time. If I were to write her into an episode of the show, I think it would be really cool if there turned out to be annual meetings in Equestria for the CEOs of all fruit-related businesses to gather and discuss plans for the year. And while it's been Granny Smith who's been representing the Apple family in all these meetings all these years, she becomes unable to for some reason in this episode, and Applejack has to fill in for her, and she uncovers some kind of conspiracy of these Pegasi fruit ponies secretly adjusting the weather in certain areas in favor of their farms while screwing over others. There's your fanfic prompts out of the handful of others I've brought up so far, so feel free to take it and run with it if you feel so inclined. Anyways, once again, why can't we get a normal version of her? She genuinely looks amazing. Banana Bliss loves to dance on the ground and in the air. Okay, that's cool and all, but can you do it with normal skin next time? Sweetie drops. Oh hey look, Bonbon. Once again, her eyes being pinkies instead of Applejacks makes this figure look awesome, and honestly, I jive with the transparency on her, but for the zillionth time, we should have gotten a normal version of her first. Sweetie Drops knows sharing treats makes them taste sweeter. Does she also know that not being transparent makes them taste even sweeter? Like, come on, this is Bonbon we're talking about. You know, 1/6 of the real main six? These six carried the fandom for years, and this is how you repay her? That's stupid. Who the heck is normal skin Lyra supposed to hang out with now? Not to mention, there's no transparent version of Lyra, and I'm really not sure what these ponies think of inter-opacity relationships, so this might be a nightmare situation for these two. Holly Dash. Isn't it amazing how this pony is an OC of somebody who worked on the show? I mean, yeah, it is actually amazing how this individual put herself in the show and that dominoed into having her likeness as a toy. That's awesome and I'm happy for her, and I'm wondering if she actually has one of these. However, this is another case of the figure being awesome and just pissing me off that a normal version doesn't exist. Imagine if you somehow got your OC into the show and you hear that they're actually going to make a toy of said OC, but all you get is this transparent version. Come on, that's a little disappointing. I'd still be grateful, but like, it doesn't have to be this way. At least she was added normally to the game. Berry Dreams. Once again, a pretty freaking accurate and interesting figure being sent back at being the clutches of this wave. Sorin. Sorin? You mean Spitfire? Huh? Aside from that, everything I said about Misty Fly pretty much applies here. This looks pretty awesome. Not much more to say. Lucky Clover. Wow, if this guy was colored in normally, we could have easily made an F- custom, but no. But even then, it looks like they were trying to make this guy purple for some reason, so I don't know, maybe not. Lily Blossom. Oh, they made a transparent version of this pony from Wave 1 of all ponies? Besides the Wonderbolts and the main six, she's like the only pony from this wave to actually have a normal version. That's strange. But at least the normal one came out before this one. If they ended up making a normal version of her after this wave and only her, we would have had some serious problems. Apple Stars. Oh my lord. Yet another pony who looks awesome with a cool cutie mark just to be graced with the gift of being a variant. This is an especially egregious case since the eyes looking like this actually makes this mold look less snobby, which was my #1 complaint about Rarity's build from the start. Strange how her card still shows her with eyeshadows. That's not on the figure though. Still, focusing on the positives, let's just hope that this wave was a lesson to the people designing these figures that they will actually apply later on. I mean, things can only go up from here, right? Barber Groomsby. Okay, maybe I was a little too insistent on asking them for different eye designs. This is just creepy. I like the added extra details of his mustache and bow tie, plus this unique cutie mark, but it looks like he really puts the groom in Barber Groomsby. Like, Barber Groomsby? More like Barber Grooms Minors. Like, what is this expression even trying to convey? It's not like his card gives us any clues whatsoever in regards to that. It seems as though they were trying to emulate how he always has his eyes closed in the show but giving up halfway through, which would be a decent theory, but this guy appeared in merchandise before the show. In fact, he was a toy exclusive pony for 3 years before he appeared in the show. And as much as I like toy exclusive ponies, this guy is a little too creepy for my liking. Being a kid and opening up a blind bag to see this might as well be like the My Little Pony equivalent of the evil stick. It is possible that they just printed the eye the wrong way, because once I photoshopped the eye to look the other way, this actually looks passable, but I don't know, it's strange how that happened. Okay, once again, this is F from the future. I only discovered this information while doing additional research while editing. Similar to Magnet Bolt from earlier, it turns out that Barber Groomsby was supposed to appear in Season 1, with this vector of him being in the asset folder. So this actually might have been an attempt to make his eyes look kind of closed, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm scared. Caramel Apple. Judging by how Caramel Apple is literally just Carrot Top with a different cutie mark, it makes sense for her figure to just look the exact same. No complaints there besides what I've been repeating for this entire wave. Caramel Apple loves to watch movies with her friends. I hope this movie in question is actually an instructional documentary on how to become solid instead of transparent. Spitfire. Finally, Spitfire. If by Spitfire you mean Sorin. How the fuck did this mix-up even happen? Though their names being switched isn't even the worst part of these cards. The box this wave comes in and the actual individual packaging was obviously emphasizing Cloudsdale and the Wonderbolts especially. Yet they couldn't be bothered to write unique descriptions for the main characters of this wave. This Spitfire card even says, Spitfire is the captain of the Wonderbolts flying team. So they knew that some pony called Spitfire is the captain of the team, yet they still mixed the names up. They have no excuse for this since their names are mentioned in Season 1.
Always hungry after a show, eh, Soren?
Lily Valley. This is just upsetting. Lily Valley is actually one of my favorite ponies just because of how funny her scenes are, yet she's befallen the curse that is transparency. Whatever, she's the last of this wave, so at least we don't have to endure this for much longer. Lily Valley loves to be in the center of the action. Is that why she cowers in fear whenever there is action? Moving on. I know that I sped up when talking about this wave compared to the previous ones, but that's because the same thing applies for most of them. I think I've made my feelings about this wave pretty freaking clear. No pun intended. Also, because most of these ponies appeared in the show, there wasn't too much room to do the headcanny stuff, which accelerated things a lot. Though, I'm glad we got that secret fruit society one in there. Anyways, while I want to say that this wave is my favorite to tell these figures were better than they were worse, all this lost opportunity probably makes this the worst one. If they released a wave with these exact ponies, but normal, it would easily be at least my second favorite. Most of them would look really good and pretty accurate if it wasn't for the stupid gimmick they were doing. Exception to all my criticisms go towards the main 6 in this wave. I didn't talk about these separately, but honestly, these look pretty cool, especially Rainbow Dash here, and I'm actually kind of bummed I don't own one. This does go pretty hard. However, the only reason I'm being positive towards these is because we already have normal versions of these 6. I can't lend the same leeway to the rest of the figures in this wave. Also, I know I've been saying this for like every wave and have been incorrect every single time I've said it, but it really does seem like the designers are starting to improve and things will only go up from here. Let's see how we're looking here. Are you kidding me? I've had enough of these variants and recolors. Give me some new normal ponies, damn it. Gah! Can you believe the sunset?
No, I cannot.
Right, hold that thought. I need to take these to calm down. What were you saying? Huh, women. Because most of these ponies and Griffin we've talked about before, I won't talk about all these one by one unless if it's a new character or if there's something notable about them. Mostly to save us time, but also because what can anyone really add to the discussion with these here? This is actually a shame since this is one of the few waves where I have pretty much every character from, and now all of that's going to waste since I have nothing to say about these. Amazing. Flim and Flam. I guess our plight from the last wave will follow us through because these look awesome, yet there's no normal versions of them. It's quite dumb how their cards don't even have their hats, but speaking of their cards, Flam of the Flim Flam Brothers loves apple cider. Flim Skim of the Flim Flam Brothers loves to sing. Does that mean that Flam, on the other hand, doesn't love to sing and is only putting himself out there in song just to appease his brother's passion? What a good bro. Comet Tail. Alright, so here's one of the only other new ponies in this wave. It's cool that they're finally introducing non-Earth stallions into the mix, but I don't think any of us are too impressed by his horn being the color of his mane instead of his skin. Also, what the f is going on with the eyes on the card? Sunny Rays. No, she's not a new pony, but it's worth noting how they changed her hair. Seems like she ain't no copy and paste of Fluttershy no more, even if her card doesn't reflect that. There really wasn't much more to say about this wave. I guess other miscellaneous things we can touch upon is how they made Princess Cadence's figure and cart design less repulsive, and also that Granny Smith's cart vector looks like this. Perhaps this is concept art of her? I don't know. Whatever this is, I don't like it. Aside from that, this is a pretty straightforward wave. They didn't apply the new technique of switching the eye shapes at all, but that's whatever since all of these ponies, save for the ones that we talked about in specific, were all previously released. I think that's fine. For the most part, this is like Wave 7, but ethical. Except for Flim Flam and Comet Tail. Whatever, I'm just getting sad. Let's take a break and talk more about those sets. Pony Lesson Set. Wow, we finally got Cheerly here in the West. How awesome. Though it's baffling how they went out of their way to model Smarty Pants and these 2 new school ponies, but still couldn't be bothered to give Cheerly a better model that would have actually been something you can reuse for waves to come and be more accurate. Groove and Hooves set. Same with Lyra in this wave. Why would they put in so much effort into these new molds you can't even reuse just to not do a new mold for something you would be able to reuse and have people be really happy about? That's stupid. Rainbow Pony favorite set. Speaking of stupid, this set, not the actual set itself, I think these designs are fine, even if it's stupid how we haven't gotten a normal Dr. Hooves and DJ Panther yet, and won't until the next year. What I actually find stupid is this layout. Unicorn, Earth, Earth, Unicorn, Alicorn. Doesn't it make more sense to do Unicorn, Earth, Alicorn, Earth, Unicorn? Plus, you really want Applejack to be the center focus as opposed to your newly winged Twilight? This is actually just one of those little stupid things that I noticed way back when that inspired me to make a channel complaining about My Little Pony toys in the first place. Daring Pony set. This would have been so much better if Daring Do didn't look like this. That's the long and short of all I can really say. I could take the low-hanging fruit and talk about how a rainbow-fied Rainbow Dash is redundant, but I find this to be pretty. There was also eventually this pure gold version of Daring Do that came out with the real-life versions of the Daring Do books, and that's pretty cool. Pony Newsmaker set. Now this is a great set. Snips and Snails are two of my favorite ponies in the entire show, and these figures really do them justice. They're so goofy looking. It's a little immersion breaking how the box calls them by their trademarkable names, but still. And no, I did not and will not open the set ever. I just have an extra set of Snips and Snails running around because they're just that awesome of ponies. Soaring Pegasus set. Finally, for the last set released in 2013 is this. Wow, fancy seeing an accurate main style Fluttershy again. It's a little dumb how out of all these set exclusive figures I ordered, Derpy just so happened to be missing when she's the coolest part of the set. Still, at least this means that there's a new reusable Pegasus mold. Let's just hope that they actually utilize it. Well, now we're in the year of 2014, arguably the peak of the Brony fandom. Let's just hope that these toys reflect that. Wow, another batch of the main 6. Yawn, wait a second. They fixed Fluttershy. After 4 years of this, they finally fixed her for the Blindbags. As much as I dislike Fluttershy, this actually looks good. See, when they do put an effort into their products, they actually end up looking really amazing. Which makes all these recolors all the more frustrating, though her card still looks like this. Strangely, they made these new rainbow-fied versions of Rainbow Dash and Rarity instead of repurposing the ones from the sets. Also, the rainbow-fied versions of the main 6 probably appear in an episode or 2 of the actual show, but it feels more like these rainbow-fied versions are technically one of those toy-exclusive ponies that appear in the mobile game, with how much the game emphasizes rainbow-fied this and rainbow-fied that. Well, that, and they appeared in this other toy line. Though it makes me wonder why these are even called rainbow-fied, with the ad showing these designs, when the actual toys look like this. Amethyst Star. Amethyst Star, more like Starlight Glimmer. The colors being off aside, this is just making me wonder why they couldn't just take a hit like a man and make a new model for this body type. Seems like it would have paid off. Or they could have at least given her the Pinky model's eyes. I don't know, this is just kind of lame. Not to mention how they didn't even get the recolor on her card correct, because they'd rather just reuse the card from Wave 6 despite the figures looking completely different. This is really stupid, though it is an improvement over the old version, Shoeshine. Same with Shoeshine. Her model is the old Pinky mold, but her card tells us that she's an Applejack recolor like her Wave 6 version. Also, her colors are at least more accurate now. Noteworthy. It's really stupid how we saw this guy in Wave 3, but now he's flipped. That's really stupid. Did they really think, well, it's technically not repurposing if we put the cutie mark on the other side? This is stupid. And it's not like they even fixed his eye color and cutie mark. Sea Swirl. Yet another remake of someone from Wave 3 with accurate hair color this time. Interesting. Are they finally atoning for their mistakes and learning how to differentiate color? It would have been nice if they gave her those wider eyes, but I'll take what we can get for now. Very Shine. Finally, they actually fixed her too. Did Hasbro fire the old team and replace them with people who have working eyes instead between these waves? Princess Cadence. Same with her. We might as well call Wave 9 the Fixer Wave. Peachy Sweet. As with her. Damn, these figures actually looking passable to good is making me have nothing negative to talk about. That's actually amazing. Lily Valley. Never mind, it appears as if we have been jinxed. While I'm glad a Wave 7 pony got a normal version, there's just one little problem. Lily Valley is an Earth pony. Sure, occasionally Earth ponies are mistakenly shown as Pegasi, but there is not a single case of that happening with Lily Valley up until this figure was released. I checked. And even if there was an instance that slipped through the cracks, that still means that they made a figure based on the rarest animation mistake in existence. That's so stupid. They even redid her card with the exact same description from earlier just for the occasion. Actually don't understand how this could have happened. One may argue it's for the hairstyle for some reason, but the Earth Pony mold and the Pegasus mold have the exact same hairstyle, so what gives? Nurse Snowheart. I like her eyes. They seem very accurate to the show, I guess. There's not much more to say. She looks good and accurate. Her mane looks more accurate than her card is giving her credit for, so yeah. Sprinkle Medley. Same with what I've been saying for a lot of these figures. She would look fantastic if her eyes just didn't make her look like she's struggling to stay awake. Still, focusing on the positives, her cutie mark is pretty sick. She appears in the show, so that's not really a compliment to the toy, but I do enjoy a good design regardless of that. Sprinkle Medley enjoys guessing what the weather will be like. How exciting. It's not like you can literally decide what the weather's gonna be, seeing that you're a Pegasus and all that. Tropical storm. Same with this bit. Tropical storm loves to play outside, rain or shine. It's not like you can't just bend the weather to your will anyways. I like her color scheme and cutie mark. It's just these eyes, man. Mr. Carrot Cake. This is a literal re-release of Mr. Carrot Cake from the set. Even though this is pretty lazy, I think it's fine because it's been a couple of years between these two releases. And also, throwing in these unique model ponies make these waves more versatile and exciting. And now he's got a card. Mr. Carrot Cake loves baking for his friends and family. So does he not love baking for his customers, or does he only allow his friends and family to shop at his business for some reason? Green Jewel. So they're finally changing up the eye shapes again. But speaking of which, it's interesting how all of her show appearances involve her having her eyes closed. So we don't really know if her eye shape actually looks like this. And for some reason, I don't trust the vector on the card. Though, at least now we're actually playing around with the eye dynamics more, even if this would have looked way better with normal pinky eyes. But speaking of which, Green Jewel makes every pony smile when she smiles. Bro thinks she Pinkie Pie. Well, that took forever to edit. Lavender Fritter. Wow, isn't it strange how this pony is literally Apple Fritter down to the cutie mark, but with a completely differently colored mane? Though they're still different characters. Perhaps they're twins. Anyways, this figure is genuinely good. The eye shape really makes all the difference. I've also got to give credit to how they're actually putting some effort into making these main color patterns actually accurate. Apple Honey. Okay, so the weird thing about this pony is, behind the scenes, I generally have trouble writing everything in order, and I'm more prone to writing parts of different stages of the videos, rather than going linearly. So I jumped around slightly across waves every once in a while, and initially, I had something written for her that I probably wrote in the midst of an earlier wave. I wrote, quote, lame. I guess Apple Honey's design in the show ain't the most exciting either, and is clearly only there to offer a nice color contrast to whoever she's standing next to, and no problem there, but this figure just looks lame. Like, even putting her in the same function as her purpose in the show, just to offer color contrasts, doesn't even work. She kind of just sticks out in a bad way. But now that I'm going through this in order and viewing her in the context of how these minifigures have evolved over time, I've grown to appreciate the eye shape and color scheme being close to what we see in the show. So, Honey Rays. Wow, interesting how Honey Rays rips off Apple Honey's name and the Lily Valley's design. If you're going to rip off stuff from other ponies, at least make sure they're from other waves to make it less obvious. Still, for what it is, you know what? Why have I been praising this wave for getting colors correct when that would be the bare minimum for literally any other franchise? That would be like if I was judging Cars toys and gave this hawk of shit a pass for having the same colors as Lightning McQueen. They've literally made this new Pegasus mold for Derpy that would have looked really good for this character and a couple others this wave, yet they didn't take that option. That's stupid. Prism Glider. Alright, so this wave is starting to fall apart. This wouldn't be that bad if this wasn't what the toy was trying to be. Like, the gender-bending diatribe aside, we literally have this Wonderbolt model that's been introduced 2 years prior to this wave. The artwork on this card is literally a recolor of Spitfire. This is stupid. Either gaslight us that this is how the guy actually looks like you've been doing with Fluttershy this whole time, or just use the model you've already went out of your way of designing. This is just inexcusable. Grape Delight. Alright then, I guess even Hasbro was embarrassed about these inaccuracies, seeing how we're back to good old-fashioned straight-up toy-exclusive characters. She's no Pepper Dance or Firecracker Burst in terms of creativity and coolness, but at this point, we'll just take what we can get, right? Never mind, forget literally everything I just said. Since it appears as if she does appear in the background of one episode as cataloged by My Little Brony Wiki under the name Candylicious, hence why I initially overlooked the fact that Grape Delight is in the show. Anyways, the colors are pretty accurate, and it's actually kind of interesting how the cutie mark on this figure has much more attention to detail on it than what we see in the show. Still, that's a pretty welcome inaccuracy for what it is. The only other thing that's inaccurate about this is how she represents grape candy, which is implied to be delicious on her card, but in reality, grape candy sucks. Easily the worst of the Jolly Rancher flavors. What a strange wave. I went from being really happy that they were finally starting to fix bad old designs, but that only started getting on my nerves since these are the bare minimum things that shouldn't have even been a problem in the first place. That, and especially at the end with Prism Glider, that was just ridiculous. Let us hope that we get less of the feeling of so close yet so far in this wave, unlike the last one. Well, let's check it out. Alright then, like Wave 8, we'll only talk about exclusive figures or random curiosities. green jewel. There's nothing notable about the figure itself, but the card shows us an updated design with these eyes, and the eyes weren't even changed at all from the earlier version. That and how this main style is apparently synonymous with the other one, Lotus Blossom. The card looks unhinged, not to mention how much of a straight up lie the description is. Lotus Blossom helps her friends feel calm and relaxed. I don't feel very calm and relaxed from this. Or is that because I'm not her friend, Diamond Mint? I didn't even know of this pony's existence until now, so that's neat. Still, it's stupid how her mane and tail are one color when the card even admits there's supposed to be streaks in them. Diamond Mint likes to wear a pretty flower in her hair. Is that a reference to how she's clearly wearing one right now? Princess Twilight Sparkle. Alicorn Twilight has finally found its place within these blind bags, so that's kind of cool, seeing the progression of the show throughout these waves. Anyways, her vector on the card looks pretty cool. That, and they finally changed the description on her card after years of the same old thing. Snipsy Snap. I think this figure looks gross and falls super flat in contrast to the non-glitter version of Snips. And the only redeeming factor about this figure at all is how there's bound to have been some people buying blind bags because they want a respectable character, only to open it and find this. Seems like really good trolling. Though, I find it really stupid how his card says, Snipsy Snap plays games with Snail Squirm all the time. Like, that's not incorrect information, but the way it's phrased is so robotic. The fact that Snails is called the trademarkable version, Snail Squirm, and it's capitalized along with the trademark icon next to it, shows how corporate and automated this all is. If it said, Snips loves to play with his friend Snails, there would have been zero problem. This is stupid. Rainbow Swoop. And now we've introduced the male Pegasus mold into the mix. Nothing else to really say about this guy. I mean, I guess the colors look too saturated for my liking, and the card really doesn't do us any favors. Sun Shower Raindrops. I'm not sure if her color is more normal looking as a physical figure, and if this green hue is possibly just some camera trickery, especially with the glitter messing things up, or if whoever designed this is colorblind. The worst part is that we'll never know since there's no non-glitter version of this figure, which is stupid. Even her card could be a little less colorblind. Either way, I guess we can at least say that she kind of fits the model. Yes, having to face each and every one of these figures on a one-by-one basis has made my standards drop so low to the point where I'm just willing to let this hairstyle and this hairstyle be considered acceptable. Strawberry Sunrise. I hate this figure. Okay, not really. I like the figure, but I don't like what it represents. Because Strawberry Sunrise is actually the best roaster in the entire show.
You're right. Apples are better than strawberries.
Only if by better you mean better than disgusting.
However, we only got this glitter version of her as opposed to a normal one. And that sucks. That means you can't really recreate this amazing scene with minifigures. Her card also looks like she's balding, and you would imagine her description would say something about strawberries, but whatever. At least we're seeing this new Pegasus model get taken out for a spin. Let's just hope for that to be a sign of good things to come. You know, if you're going to make variants of already existing figures, go ahead. It's a free country. However, like I said 3 waves ago, could you at least make sure that these variants have an original first? Or at least Strawberry Sunrise. I don't care about the others in this wave. But on that topic, if you're going to be constantly re-releasing the same things over and over and over and over, could you at least re-release the Wave 2 ponies worldwide? I know I was going hard on them earlier, but like, at least those were original characters and not this lazy slop we've been fed for the past few waves. If we're disregarding Wave 2, since not everyone could get them, and Wave 7, since it was somehow an original and variant wave, up until this point, 3 out of 8 waves were entirely full of these variants and not new characters. That's actually an embarrassing amount that just shows how lazy this entire toy line is. And that's not even including how they've been reusing the default main 6 in a lot of these waves. Though, judging by the time these were released, there were multiple waves released per year, meaning that it's not like you had to wait a ridiculous amount of time to get new ponies, but still! This is hurting my head. Let's just take a quick look at another one of those sets to see some semblance of quality. Pony Friends Forever Collection. Never mind, this was not the place to go for a semblance of quality. What a strange set. First of all, what an excellent reference to buy some apples.
Buy some apples.
I'm American.
Second of all, isn't it interesting how this version of Princess Luna is exclusive to the set? You'd think that they'd want to put a fan favorite character out in multiple ways, but I guess they just settled on her being a Toys R Us exclusive. Or is that only because they wanted to keep the episode 1/2 version rare? Anyways, what's the point of putting the cakes when they were in a different set already? This seems like a waste of space 2 other ponies could be going. Same with this reuse of Pinkie Pie. It's not like there's a lack of her anywhere. Though speaking of Pinkie and exclusive characters, what's with Pinkie and Vinyl being paired up together? Is this perhaps a reference to the rapid history of the Wonderbolts? Why couldn't they just get rid of this boring pony and the 1003 use of Pinkie, pair Vinyl and Octavia together, and use this new space to put in Lyra and Bonbon? Also, maybe swap out Apple Bloom with Derpy. This is stupid. If they feature Sunset so prominently on the packaging, surely her figure would have some extra effort put into it, right? After all, the previous wave's packaging prominently featured Strawberry Sunrise, who was just another random background character when the wave came out, since it was before her role in the show, and her figure looked just fine. So surely one of the fandom's most beloved actual characters will look like they actually put in at least the bare minimum effort in, right? Well, let's find out. Sunset Shimmer. What can I really say about this that isn't obvious? It's kind of riveting how her card design is normal, meaning that they gave her extra attention, yet this is all they had to show for it. I guess they gave her different eyes, which is better than if they just used the normal rarity eyes, but... Come the f*** on! Can we show a little respect to the best character in the entire franchise? Flat. Speaking of the best character in the entire franchise, here's the polar opposite. Maybe we shouldn't have gotten a male Pegasus mold so that this guy doesn't have to exist. That would have been an option. That would have been a compromise. And also, isn't it amazing how because the package has Sunset on it, it leads us to believe that this wave will be somewhat Equestria Girls related? Yet, this is how his card design looks like. Why did they give Sunset her own vector? Yet this is how Flash looks. His left wing is missing. If only his entire existence could be missing. Big wig. I don't really know what to say here. This is actually a pretty decent depiction of the pony for what it is. It seems like they're actually now starting to make the effort to make figures based on really specific and unusual looking ponies with unconventional body types rather than generic fruit ponies time and time again. Not bad. Not bad. Though we may be getting a little too comfortable with lying about these main styles being more accurate than they actually are on the card. Helia. Man, does this figure not do her design in the show any justice. Why don't we go back to not using other eye shapes? Her card sure tries to make us think that they are. Like, just giving her those good eyes and adding those 3 dots would have gone such a long way, but no. Candy apples. She looks nice. I like how they actually utilize those hair tie things, though I don't understand why they would give her Twilight's eyes. That seems like quite an unnecessary change. Why does her card design look so exciting? Perhaps they realized that having the exact same pose on every card wasn't too thrilling, and they decided to switch things up, which actually is welcome by me. Purple wave. Now, you're probably thinking, I thought you had this figure. Why aren't you showing us it? And also, possibly, I thought you weren't talking about the same figure twice through multiple waves. Well, that's what I thought too, until I realized that this is actually a different pony than before. Curiously, the only time this pony appears in the show is in Rarity's Gala Fantasy Imagination sequence. So this might be a pony who doesn't even actually exist. That's so specific and stupid. At least they got the design accurate, seeing that Purple Wave is a direct recolor of Lyrica Lilac. But, like, out of all the Lyrica Lilac recolors in the show, you chose to make the only Lyrica Lilac recolor figure, the one who looks literally the exact same as her, down to the coat and eye colors, aside from the hair color and cutie mark, rather than this one who would have actually looked pretty cool as a figure. What were they thinking? Same with her card. The fact that she has the snobbiest look in the world tells me that the card is really saying she loves only giving her friends little gifts, whereas she doesn't really care for giving her friends decently sized ones. Stupid. Spitfire. Wow, they actually got her name right. What's that so hard? Looking at this figure, I think I've got to say that I actually prefer the translucent one, but that's literally only because we eventually got this version of her. Neon lights. For starters, his mane is completely off since he's a recolor of DJ Pon3. I guess that makes him a girl, similar to Magnet Bolt from earlier, though his card does refer to him as a he. But speaking of which, why is he balding? Is this an error or is it a Skrillex reference? I can see either option being the case here. Even if this is a bit of a mess, I'm still glad that they made this figure of a pretty cool guy. Wensley. I sure do love how his eye color is incorrect. This is stupid since his card gets his eye color correct. That is idiotic. Cheese sandwich. It's really stupid how this figure looks pretty accurate, yet his card lies to us by saying that it's not accurate. That looks disgusting. Cloud Chaser. Wow, isn't it amazing how there's 2 characters in the show called Cloud Chaser? I mean, no comment on the figure itself. Most figures this wave so far literally had nothing too wrong with them that we were breezing through these. Percy Pink. This is stupid. Not because of the ethical dilemma that arises when debating how ponies wear purses, but because of these eyes. The Pinky Mold's normal eyes would have been perfectly good here, so why would you do this? Her card really is no better. Without her cutie mark, you wouldn't even think that these were the same ponies at all. Also, what's this even supposed to mean? Percy Pink has a closet full of pocketbooks. Why not just say her purses are full of pocketbooks? Let's move on. Swanky Hank. This guy's design repulses me. I don't mean the figure, I mean his show design. You would think that due to his collar, he's wearing a suit, but judging by how we can't see where the suit ends from sleeves or whatever, apparently not. Is he literally only wearing a collar? That's weird and seems unnecessary. Why couldn't they just draw on the rest of his suit? But speaking of which, it would have been nice if they printed on his collar on the figure, similar to the tie on Barber Groom's Miners, Button Bell. I have no idea why they would change Surrey Polymer's name to Button Bell. Was this perhaps the toy designer's way of secretly shipping Button Mash and Sweetie Belle? I never referred to Suri Polymer as Button Belle before, so I ain't gonna suddenly start now. Anyways, I can't really complain about the coloring here, but her color does actually look a lot more like Sugar Belle than Suri, which is stupid. It's also stupid how Suri had an actual prominent role in the show, unlike 90% of the ponies in this wave, yet they chose to make her look like literally any other background pony. How amazing. Not to mention her card description. Button Belle loves to laugh and tell jokes. Really? That's what you want to say about one of the few characters with an actual personality in this wave?
Now get me some coffee!
Luckette. In a perfect world, this would have been a pinky recolor with a lighter hair color, but whatever. I don't understand why they would color in these hair ties when she doesn't have any in the show. And this entire toy line usually just didn't color in the spot when the pony doesn't have any hair ties in the show. Her card lies to us by suggesting that she really does. Also, what's going on with her eyes? We might have witnessed the birth of Derpy too, Lilac Hearts. Curiously, judging by her mane, coat, and eye colors, plus her first name, you would think that this is actually Lilac Lynx, but the cutie marks are different and Hearts is a unicorn whereas Lynx is an earth pony. Whatever the case is, she's literally just Grape Delight's twin, Royal Pin. Well, here's another pony who's accurate enough for what it is, leaving me with nothing more to add to it. Good-ish job, I guess. Ruby Splash. Once again, there's nothing to complain too much about the colors. She looks pretty solid. Her card actually resembles her show design, though she does look kind of naked without her bag. Like, without her bag, she's nothing. Even the Chinese bootleg company Ollie Factory realized this and went out of their way to include the bag on her. Yes, the company that made Rainbow Dash look this half-assedly even knew to give Ruby Splash a backpack. That says something about the state of these minifigures. Breezies. Huh, this individual has a suspiciously similar color scheme as Ruby Splash. That's eerie. Maybe Ruby Splash went through an adventure through the portal and became this. Anyways, I'm just talking about these three breezes at once since they're basically the exact same and it's not like they're even based on any particular ones. Also, isn't it amazing how all three of their cards say the exact same thing? The Wonderbolt's cards made the effort to change at least one word around. Even more strange is how some brushable sets came with breezes, which makes for a better scaling juxtaposed to the size of ponies in that toy line, but it's interesting how they used the exact same mold to apply to both toy lines, when you wouldn't think that there would be a huge overlap between the brushables and minifigures. I think overall we are seeing improvements, or at least in the sense that there wasn't anything too worthy of complaint compared to the other waves. Still, it also didn't have anything that blew my expectations away either. This was honestly just a boring wave. We're getting more accurate now, but in exchange for losing all those toy exclusive characters that were fun to think of backstories for. I wonder if this is a sign for things to come. There's only one way to find out what the future holds. Let's rip this bad boy open. Well, this looks cool. Wait a second. These are all the same ponies from Wave 1. You know, the only thing I think is slightly lazier than releasing variant waves after variant waves is by literally just releasing already existing figures with no changes. Okay, to be fair, this was released years after the original wave, so I guess it is kind of acceptable if this was done to give newer fans a chance to collect discontinued ponies, but still, it's baffling to me how they redesigned Cherry Spices to be way better than the Wave 1 version, but they still went back to the Wave 1 version. Bruh. Okay, so I know that the last wave gave me like nothing to talk about, but this wave somehow topped that nothingness. How awesome. Okay, I mean, sure, they swapped Fluttershy and Twilight with their newer models, and the main Sixes cards look cooler now. However, all the card designs for everyone else in this wave remained the exact same as they were in Wave 1. It would have gone really hard if they at least redid all these. If they did that, I would have actually forgiven this wave for existing and would have thought that this was way less lazier than it actually is. Also, this is the first time we've gotten a fully colored version of Alicorn Twilight, yet her necklace thingy isn't even colored in. Unlike the glitter version. This is stupid. I hope this wave is a bit more meaty. Wow, yet another glitter wave. Jackpot! We actually went from having a normal wave where only like 3 were glitters to just being the polar opposite now. As you can see here, this is essentially the glitter version of Wave 3, so I guess they're really just going through old stuff to recycle instead of making new stuff. I mean, at least we got this wave after the wave with the original versions of these ponies in instead of having ourselves another Wave 4 and 6 situation. But as per usual with these new waves, since I displayed all the glitter stuff anyways, I'll just skip them and talk about the few new ponies from this wave. That is, except for Ribbon Hearts. Isn't it amazing how this is a variant version of a pony from Wave 2? I think that's really stupid. Why didn't they just retroactively release Wave 2 worldwide if they're gonna be this inconsistently lazy? Anyways, the only actual new pony in this entire wave is Apple Split. The rest of these are updated versions of already released ponies. Technically, Apple Bumpkin is new, but she's probably one and the same as Apple Dazzle, so who knows. Anyways, it seems like the colors on these figures are now getting less saturated than the old versions, which actually makes them look less cheaply made. Interesting. Alright, wave 14, don't let us down. Wow, another variant wave. How lucky are we? Winner, winner, olive chicken dinner, right guys? Once again, we'll just skip through all the redundant stuff individually because one, we did talk about all these ponies before, and two, these are variant ponies of a variant wave. I originally thought that this was another variant version of Wave 6, just like Wave 4 was, but seeing the fact that this wave's Trixie looks like this, Wave 6's Trixie looks like this, whereas the Wave 4 one looks like this is clearly the glitter version of Wave 4. Except no, it's not a glitter version, because it has no glitter on it. It's literally just the glitter versions without the glitter. That's stupid. It's even more stupid how the last thing I said about the last wave is how these are starting to look less cheap, but now they're going ahead and doing stuff like this. Not to mention how there's this random Wave 7 pony involved. But speaking of Wave 7, as much as the wave pissed me off, the fact that the figures had multiple colors made them at least look cool in a vacuum. The ones in this wave are all just one color, which is gross and seems like no effort was put in them whatsoever. Whatever, let's just get this over with. Sugar cake. Wow, yet another Pinkie Pie. Wait, what? Sugar cake? Huh? This is literally just Pinkie. You realize that this is definitely one of the top contenders of what Pinkie's cutie mark would be if it weren't for the 3 balloons, right? Well, let's see how Sugar Cake's non-variant design looks like. And if she doesn't have one for whatever reason, let's see what her colors are in the show because I doubt they'd give anyone such a similar design to Pinkie. Curses! You know what? If we're to give this individual some fanon lore, let's consider her as Pinkie's #1 stalker. That actually seems like a neat idea for an episode. Like, because Pinkie's easygoing and friendly, Sugar Cake can try to force her way into being Pinkie's friend, gradually stealing her hobbies and appearance and friends, until the main 6 can't even tell them apart. I don't know, maybe that's a little too similar to the end of Too Many Pinkies, but whatever. I'm just trying to think of any justification for this stupid design. Especially, I don't know if you caught on yet, but this is literally just a sprinkle stripe from the last wave. Practically the exact same cutie mark and eye color. Beachberry and Peachy Pie. Just like how the last wave had a random variant of a Europe exclusive figure in there, this set has variant versions of these ponies from this set from 4 years prior to this wave. Huh? Plum Sweet. It's just odd how here's another pony exclusive to this wave with no normal version. I really have to give credit to Wave 7 here because even if it introduced new ponies that we'll never get normal versions of, much to ire, at least we can tell what the colors of these theoretical normal versions would be. I can't lend the same leeway here, but who knows, maybe her card has some information. Still, would you believe me if I told you that it gets worse from here? Her brushable, which at least shows what her colors are, is a Pinkie recolor. She's also an Applejack recolor on her card, yet she's a Pegasus. Florina Tart. Interesting how we're getting a new mold for the first time in forever. But like, Florina Tart is such a specific pony to make a new mold for. Really? Her out of all ponies? Did the people designing these toys look up random ponies until they saw this image and were perverted enough to bring it to reality? I'm really not a fan of how her hind leg is in this motion, since it really gets distracting when it's on a bunch of ponies, as you'll soon see. Still, let's focus on the positives. We finally have a new mold, yet they couldn't bother to show that off in her card for some reason. Perfect Pie. Well, it looks like we're back to those perfectly adequate figures that leaves me with nothing of substance to add to the discussion. Though, honestly, they should have made her a recolor of the new Florina Tart model. That seems like it would have been a better fit for her main, but whatever. Apple Cinnamon. There's also nothing much to say about this figure, but I'm actually saddened by this guy's card. Apple Cinnamon. He is nice and kind. This is like, have you ever done that activity where like, as a class, you have to go around and write something positive on everyone's piece of paper? And while those with friends get inside jokes or genuine compliments written on them, people who nobody talks to just get generic comments like, you're funny, you're nice, hi. That's exactly what this card description reads like. It's like even the manufacturers making these generic background fruit ponies realize that there's literally nothing interesting about them and just thought of the blandest descriptions in existence. Golden Delicious. Wow, isn't it amazing how they have now made both Golden Deliciouses as minifigures? That's totally not stupid at all. At least we have yet another mold. This would have come in handy years ago, but we'll take it. Apple Cobbler. Apple Cobbler, more like Applejack. These two are essentially copy and pastes of each other aside from the hair tie and cutie mark. Her color in the show is completely different. So this is just lazy. Similar to Apple Cinnamon's card. Hers looks like whoever was tasked to write these just wanted to finish this one final description in order to call it a day and go home. Anyways, if you were wondering why she's the 10th Apple family member in a row, that's because in conjunction with these 2015 waves, they decided to get their shit straight and released the Friendship is Magic collection, which was essentially like those sets from earlier, but with more attention to detail on them. These even came with playsets, so you have buildings to put your ponies around, which is awesome. And while the quality might be completely different from the Blindbags, there's still a lot of overlap with the Blindbags. And in fact, the cards in the last two waves we talked about were branded as being a part of the Friendship is Magic collection to be supplementary pieces to the first release of this toy line. So I think they're worth talking about here. Up first, we got the Sweet Apple Acres themed collection with these higher quality figures with detachable accessories, all relating to the Apple family. While that's kind of cool, that's actually a double-edged sword, since when I got these figures from eBay, most of them came with accessories missing. And I can't blame the sellers for that, since I've had these ones since my birthday of 2015, and I've clearly lost some stuff. I mean, Jonah Gold without the hats I can live with, but Apple Bloom and Babseed without the plates is plain disgusting. Because once you lose them, you're just stuck with these holes on their heads. That's weird. Especially when this is the only minifigure of Babs ever made. On top of that, I actually prefer the Wave 8 versions of Flim and Flam where the hats were attached to the main body. I'm not sure why, but these look better to me. Feel free to comment which versions you prefer. I want to know if my opinion's the general consensus or not. Anyways, isn't it interesting how they remade Apple Fritter and Peachy Sweet instead of investing that time and energy into making a new pony instead? It's not like there's a billion other Apple ponies they could have made instead. But anyways, these new molds will later go on to be reused in Blindbags for waves to come, but we'll get there when we get there. But on that topic, to make it more clear, the last two waves were supposed to be add-ons to this collection, hence why the non-glitter ponies were all Apple family related. Though, on a pretty negative note, they just straight up reused the Blindbag Big Mac model for this, which is, there are definitely words to describe this action. Lazy comes to mind, but at least we got an Applejack with a hat for once. Life complete. The next collection is the Pinkie Pie one, and I've got to say the same thing about Mr. Carrot Cake that I said to Flim and Flam. Like, obviously this version is better quality than the old one, but I still like the old one better. Maybe that's because these equipable add-ons look too 3D, which is uncanny for originally 2D designs, whereas the Blindbag version still looks flat like 2D. I don't know. Anyways, it's kind of funny how this collection has two versions of Gummy, yet we still haven't seen a single Spike in this entire video yet. It's also depressing how they made this figure of Cranky Doodle Donkey, but not Matilda, the one thing that ever brought life into his existence. I generally despise being empathetic, but even that bums me out a bit for the guy. Aside from that, a lot of these figures clearly look like a lot of effort was put into them, and they look beautiful, especially because now we have an accurate maned Pinkie now. And before we resume to the Blindbags, there is this one last set. There's nothing too interesting about these figures themselves since they've all been released before, but wow, nice to see that Twilight considers Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon her friends, but not the Cutie Mark Crusaders? The f***? Also, very cool to see Twilight letting Pinkie on the Princess Twilight Sparkle and Friends set after Pinkie didn't include Twilight in the Pinkie and Friends one. Like we talked about in Wave 5, this was pretty much a re-release for the ponies in that wave. That is, except for the main 6. The main 6 in this wave all have a streak of glitter in their hair, which is kind of funny. Not in a good way. It's just funny to me how the manufacturers of this toy line are inventing new and innovative ideas on how to be lazy. Though, speaking of their mains, why did we revert back to Fluttershy's old hairstyle? The new one was perfectly fine. This is made stupider when you see that her card uses the new hairstyle. Also, it appears as if they didn't do this for Pinkie Pie, which, I mean, I guess her main style is kind of hard to put a streak of glitter in it, but like... Huh? Because if the world needed any My Little Pony minifigure, it would have been another default Pinkie. On one hand, I want to commend them for being smart by making all these different variations, but on the other, it's not like they've run out of background ponies to make figures of. But even if they did, it's not like it's too difficult to pick random colors and slap a clip art vector of random objects on their flanks like the good old days. Once again, I really like how a long time ago these waves used to be full of normal ponies with only a handful of glitter sprinkled in every once in a while, but now it's the other way around. Wait, no, I don't like that. Anyways, just like Wave 13 and 14, Waves 16 to 18 were released in conjunction with a Friendship is Magic collection. This one being the Nightmare Night story packs. If you ever wanted to give your pony collection a Halloween section or something, I guess. Which is kind of sad since it seems as though they've just completely skipped over on giving the Pinkie Pie collection any Blindbag waves. We could have gotten minifigures of her family, but never mind. Anyways, because of this, we're going to be ignoring all those embarrassingly lazy variants and just talk about the Nightmare Night stuff. Especially Especially because Wave 16 is largely a variant version of a variant wave, though instead of being one color and transparent, they're one color and not transparent. That's a new low. A lot of these just look unfinished. What were they thinking? Also, Wave 17 just adds insult to injury since it's a variation version of Wave 7. Who does that? Same with Wave 18, which is all glitter versions of Wave 8. So let us just look at the ponies in these 3 waves that are not variant versions. Berry Shine. Despite being a solid color, this is not actually a transparent / glitter version. Yes, this is the actual figure. Isn't it beautiful how this is what it's supposed to look like? Like, the cutie mark might be convenient for telling who this is supposed to be, since you can't even tell who's under this costume in the show, but come on, this is just disgusting. Now, this is usually where I'd show the figure's card so we can compare and contrast the figure to the vector, but MLP Merch, the site where I got all these pictures and information from, had her card conveniently missing. So I tried entering the site to the Wayback Machine to see if it was archived at some point, but it's gone now or whatever. But no, it was always missing. So at this point in my research, now I'm getting kind of frustrated, right? I look everywhere for how this card looks, but to find nothing but cobwebs and dust bunnies. Then this video falls onto my lap, and I was hoping that it would show the card throughout the unboxing. This actually looked like a promising lead until I heard this.
This Wave 16 comes with 12 different figures.
That's when I remembered, whereas everywhere else in the world, each of these waves have 24 ponies, the European releases split each waves into 2 waves of 12 ponies. And looking at the box, Berry Shine wasn't on there. And now I'm determined more than ever to find this card, so I look up MLP Blindbag Wave 16 to find these people unboxing this entire set of 24, with Berry Shine displayed proudly on the box. So I skimmed through this video until they got to Berry Shine, but she never popped up, so I skipped all the way to the end to see how this is how the collection ends up looking.
We got these at, say, Target or Walmart and we paid full price. I'd probably be way more upset that we didn't get the full Chaser set.
What the fuck? So I kept looking and looking, and this video came into clutch.
But let's see who we have in here. All right, we have Berry Shine.
Thank you, Okami Girl 64, for sharing this monstrosity with the universe. To be fair, even with the actual vector just on the box, seeing this card up close shows us this description. She pretends to be a ghost. Just keep this in mind for later. Moving on. Actually, no, before moving on, I just want to say I'm kind of pissed off because while editing this video, I realized that if I just went to the UK release versions of the cards, I would have seen that the Berry Shine card is literally right there. So, fiddly twang. Isn't it amazing how they could have just made this an Octavia recolor and it would have gone hard, but instead they decided to make this new mold just for it to look stupid? I respect the effort of trying to make her look Scarecrow-ish, but I don't like how her card features her playing a ghost violin. Also, she wears a costume. What a description. And no, they've never made a normal version of her either, so if you ever wanted a figure of this admittedly cool looking pony, this is all you get. Golden Harvest. I'm actually gonna pass out. You're probably thinking, oh, this isn't too bad. Her red bow actually pops out very well to contrast against her hair. And on that topic, her mane is so much better now that she's no longer a pinky recolor, which makes it more accurate. And I thought that exact way too, so I was actually going to let my guard down and say that this is a pretty decent figure. But then I wondered, wait, what is this costume actually supposed to be? Then I looked up how she's actually supposed to look like, and the implications of this pony dressing up as Satan himself, suggesting that Judeo-Christian depictions of Lucifer exist in this universe, having us to question how religion works in Equestria aside, this is awful! Why aren't the hind hooves colored in with red? Did you seriously color in the bow red to pretend like it's the horns? Why didn't they at least try to make her tail red? That seems like it would have been incredibly easy. Not to mention how her card says, she wears a costume. How original. We'll come back to this. Sassaflash. Now, as with everyone else so far, this is the Nightmare Night costume version of this pony, which is kind of dumb because clearly this purple hair is a wig, but the figure makes it look like her actual mane. Now, I'm not saying that they should have molded both her mane and wig, but I am saying how if they drew her costume on as a print, they could have at least drawn some of her actual hair poking out. The dumbest part is how there's actually 2 Sassaflashes in this wave, but with a completely different design. I'm only saying this here because we ain't gonna go through all these variants individually, but if you're going to at least make a non-glitter version of this random odd character, at least make it of this version. That and how creative and original her card is. She wears a costume. Like, come on now. The only thing lazier than writing nonsense and lazy descriptions is reusing lazy and nonsense descriptions. I swear, if I say this description one more time, I'm gonna lose it. Big Macintosh. He wears a costume. Okay, to be fair, at least this one says he instead of she, but Still, how come Berry Shine got her own special description? Why don't the rest of these cards describe what they're going as? Not to mention, why would they suddenly give Big Mac that brown thing in this version? I like how it's on there on the figure, but the metal part isn't, so the brown part is on the card, but the metal part isn't. Surprising that they didn't just slap his tail on the card at this point. And wow, now you color in his hooves? Too little too late. Berry Shine. What? Another Berry Shine? Though, to be fair, the blame lies on the show more than the toy line because she does appear as two different costumes in the same episode. Anyways, it's a little dumb how the colors are still completely off. And also the stupidest part is how now we have 3 completely different Berry Shine models. Lyra Heartstrings. Honestly, okay, as stupid as this looks, it's pretty solid for what it is. Though the see-through cutie mark is a little unnecessary if we're going for accuracy. Actually, yeah, why did they put this here? Wouldn't it have been cheaper and easier on their part just to not give her the cutie mark? Her card also just looks stupid because of this. Cherry Berry. Here's another figure that actually looks fine on the surface, or at least until you find out what she's supposed to be. At least we've graduated from having the same card description over and over again for all these. Ace Point. Hey, how come this guy doesn't get his cutie mark seeping through his pants? That's not fair. Also, if he can draw on his mustache and pants and armband, why couldn't you color in his headband? This figure is 99% there, but because of that last 1% not being there, it just becomes insulting. Also, isn't it amazing how all the other cards so far say, she loves blank, but this fella's card just says, he plays tennis. Does that mean that he plays tennis but doesn't love it? Cloud Kicker. Cloud Kicker? That's literally just a racial slur towards Pegasus. Oh, I forgot that I'm a unicorn. I can't say that. Though, at least she looks pretty nice. Especially because we're using a super old mold that's been around since Wave 1, and now it's getting an upgrade in the form of body printing. Good job. But then, once again, you look at what she's supposed to be, and you realize that this card is actively lying to us by pretending that she's not supposed to have a hat. Well, that's dumb. Same with how Cherry Berry's card pretends like she's not supposed to have antennae. Minuet. Well, aside from the fact that her hat is missing, this looks pretty amazing. The card also gaslights us into thinking that she's never had the hat, but now I'm wondering, was someone tasked to literally make a separate vector of what we see in the show, but without the hat? Or did they, like, look through the animation flash files and, like, edit them? This is pretty strange. What else is strange is how this is the only Minuet figure so far with actually good hair. As is tradition, there's no non-costume version of this. That's dumb. Mr. Carrot Cake. Once more, we are delighted with cards gaslighting us about how the figure isn't supposed to have a hat or bow tie. Okay, the hat? I get, okay? But the bow really doesn't seem that hard to print. Still, we can't discuss this guy without talking about his counterpart, Mrs. Dazzle Cake. What's dumb is that these two are supposed to be Raggedy Ann and Andy. You know, one of the main features of those two is that they have red hair, which Mrs. Cake's costume in the episode shows, but the figure doesn't. I don't know why. They had zero problem making Sassaflash's wig color her actual main color earlier. This looks really no different from her figure in the Pinkie Pie collection. Also, her design on the card is really small compared to the other cards for some reason. I wonder how that happened. Raven Inkwell. Wow, another Satan worshiper. Oh, sorry, were you not able to tell with the figure? Yeah, this is what she's supposed to actually look like. Yup, I totally get this from this, 1000%. This is really stupid because, just like Fiddly Twang, these Nightmare Night costume versions are the only figures for these ponies with really cool and unique designs. I also think it's stupid how bloated her cutie mark is. Sprinkle Medley. Isn't it amazing how they made this figure based off this error in the Nightmare Night episode where she's wingless when she's not supposed to be? Also, her eyes are weird like this because of this one shot in the episode. Though, that really does not translate well into this figure. The figure doesn't look like she's scared, it just looks like she needs to take her meds. I mean, come on, really? Her card isn't even making this expression. Not to mention that she's not even wearing a costume, so why make her? I'm sure there were other Nightmare Nights costumed individuals you could have made figures of instead. And if not, they could have filled one of these waves with the normal versions of the Wave 7 ponies. Or they could have filled one of these waves with variant versions of ponies who still haven't gotten a single variant yet. Seriously, what were they thinking? I mean, I guess they were saving their A game for the main event. While some of these figures genuinely look really beautiful and high quality, I mean, just look at this Luna compared to her other depictions so far, there is something about this particular collection that's been bugging me for a long time. Actually, there's two main things that bug me about this. The first thing is how this is the only Mayor Mare merch in existence. Those other costumed characters never getting non-costumed versions, whatever. But Mayor Mare was actually such a prominent character in the show in the early seasons, so it's really dumb how portraying her as a clown is all they had to show for that. They didn't even color her nose red. The second thing that's disappointing is... Take a deep breath first because you might actually pass out from this. Yeah, How did they derp the derp? That's so stupid. One may argue that they did this because of the controversy surrounding her, but then, like, you'd think that they wouldn't have released her separately at all. Still, I think that this is the best collection yet, since we finally got the Cutie Mark Crusaders and Spike for this toy line. Not to mention how this is also the only appearance of Aloysius as well. That, and now Twilight is no longer homeless. Can't relate. The next thing we got was this mini Cloudsdale collection. There weren't any special buildings or props or whatever, but if you're anything like me, you probably thought the Wonderbolts are such a huge part of the show since Rainbow Dash's entire storyline basically revolves around them, yet we don't really get to spend time with the individual Wonderbolts throughout the episodes. So with playsets or not, this is still a welcome set to be able to see these characters individually and appreciate them more on a personal level. But then you take a closer look and realize that they're all recolors, except for this guy who's just a less detailed version of his older release. Though I guess the Wonderbolts are technically all recolors in the show, so I'll let it slide this time. But my patience can only go on for so long, since if you try to match up the ponies with the illustrations in the backside, this lad got gender bent. This person's hairstyle is completely off, and this guy's color is completely wrong. Also, another thing I won't let slide are these straps on their goggles. Was it that hard to color them in? That, and how we're still giving Rainbow Dash these lazy, sleepy eyes. That's dumb. Next up is the Crystal Mini Collection, which, did they just get lazy at this point? We had a full, genuine collection for Sweet Apple Acres, the Sugar Cube Corner, and Twilight's Treehouse. Yet when it comes to Cloudsdale and the Crystal Empire, all they get are these character sets? That's so dumb. Having a playset of the Weather Factory and the Crystal Castle would have been amazing, though I guess this packaging is still pretty cool. Unlike this character selection, you're telling me that instead of the main 6, they chose to put in these random odd ponies that don't even appear in the Crystal Empire, or even in the show at all? I mean, they could have at least released crystal ponies with those markets and carts and stuff. That would have been cool, though I guess this packaging is still pretty neat. Moving on. Sparkle Friends Collection. Why is this called the Sparkle Friends Collection when the main 6 are paired up with their enemies? I'm guessing it's to imply that you should try to be friendly to those who have wronged you and blah 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 and blah. Sure, but what's with these choices? These 4 make sense, but I wouldn't necessarily say that Cranky was a villain to Pinky. If anything, it would have been the other way around. At this point, they should have just paired up Pinky with Gilda and Rainbow Dash with a Wonderbolt recolor Shadowbolt or something. Same with Fluttershy. This makes no sense. Ideally, they would have made a new mold for like Iron Will or Discord or the Cockatrice or something, but I guess the Manticore was the only thing they already had made and used it at the cost of making sense. Speaking of the Manticore, why does the box say that Gilda and the Manticore are special editions when those two are like the only ones in this entire set that aren't special editions? That's stupid. What else is stupid is how this box tries gaslighting us into thinking that Flim doesn't usually have a hat. Most curiously, this box is labeled as being a part of the Elements of Friendship series, but this was the only thing ever released under that, so that's dumb. Though, I guess then they decided to suddenly stop being lazy, because the last thing they released in 2016 was the Rarity Collection. As with the other Friendship is Magic collections, this one also came with a playset, along with really detailed figures. I especially really like this DJ Pon-3. Also, finally, we got Aloe as a minifigure. Also, they made a cucumber eye covering thing as an accessory, which is awesome. This is awesome because cucumber eye covering things made this visual gag possible.
You guys! Ah! Rainbow Dash? Come on!
And I think that might have actually been one of the funniest things in the entire show. Anyways, more importantly, they actually went ahead and made an accurate version of Sapphire Shores. Though, they still didn't give her the hat, so close yet so far. Also, in case you thought that this wasn't as expansive or as exciting as the other collections, you'd be right, but the next 2 Blind Bag waves would also be rarity themed too, so at least we have that to look forward to. Okay, full transparency, I don't own a single figure from this wave, which is kind of interesting since most of the figures that I have, I bought from bulk packs on eBay. But the fact that none of these huge packs I got have any Wave 21 ponies probably says something. I'm not sure exactly what it says, but there's probably some kind of implications there. There's a couple theories that I have on why that could be, but we'll get to that later. The interesting about this wave is like, we're basically in the modern era of this toy line now. In fact, once we open this package, you might not even recognize these figures from being the same toy line as Wave 1. Picture frame. Like, here's immediately a great example. She doesn't look like she fits in with the Wave 1 ponies, but still, picture frame? What a lazy name. Are we just naming our characters after random objects around the house now? What's next? Office chair? Desk lamp? I did some research and her alternative name is Picture Perfect, which is way better. Also, for such an obscure pony, there seems to be a lot of, unsavory images of her, which I can't say for the next pony, Midnight Fun, who doesn't appear to have a single NSFW image of her whatsoever, so good job. Midnight Fun, you win. You survived the entire show's run without getting a single degenerate piece of art made of you. That's actually a trophy-deserving accomplishment. Then again, there doesn't seem to be a single piece of fan art of her, NSFW or not, so yeah, that's kind of sad. Can we show some appreciation for Midnight Fun down in the comments? Pretty Vision. She seems like a fair compromise. There's some fan art of her, yet not a single inappropriate one. And no, before you guys jump to conclusions, I wasn't going out of my way to find unsavory images of these ponies. I was just doing research and it happened to fall to my lap. No, I promise, like... Anyways, isn't it cool how they're actually giving us these full clothing prints on their bodies now? It seems like they're actually putting in some effort into giving us pretty accurate figures. Though, of course, they're not going to do anything about their mains, which is a shame, especially for her. Because I had no idea this pony even existed until making this video, but I really like her design, which is aided heavily by her hairstyle. The fact that this is a recolor is really hindering that. Swanef Folio. I probably mispronounced that. Anyways, what I just said is even more obvious with her. Like, bruh. Her design in the show looks awesome, and the figure doesn't do it any justice. Let's just see what her card says. Swanef Folio and Midnight Fun style each other's hair. Yeah. Also, I didn't bring up the cards in this wave until this point because I wanted to wait until we've talked about both ponies on one before doing so. I have no clue why, but the cards in this wave decided to show 2 ponies on each card. One guess as to why could be, as we saw, they really seem to be getting bored and tired of writing all these different descriptions that they only want to write only half as much by putting 2 names for one description. But that's not even why. We know this since Midnight Fun's card has her with somebody else with a completely different description. Well, that's dumb. Stella Lashes. Same thing I've been saying applies to her. The outfit is cool, but the mane and tail stop it from being really cool. Stella Lashes and Pretty Vision like new hairstyles. Oh, is that why you're only sticking to old hairstyles? Long shot. Holy crap, does her cutie mark go hard. What doesn't go hard is the rest of her design. This is how she appears in the show. Yeah, they got the colors right, which is more than what we can say for her earlier figures, but this is just not it. At least her card description applies to her character, though. Minuet. I mean, sure, the colors are better than her old design, but what the heck is this expression trying to convey? Her card just looks repulsive and reminds me heavily of the Cyclops pony. Mainly gold. Mainly gold? She looks mainly orange to me. This does not seem like the correct mold to use for her, but that aside, okay. What's with making figures of super specific ponies that literally appear in one shot in one episode of the entire show? We'll come back to this idea later. Vidala Swoon. Vidala Swoon? I don't know. Alright, so why don't we suddenly stop printing clothes onto these ponies? We're clearly nothing without their outfits. Also, was this really the best fit for this pony? It's kind of disgusting how the bow is visible on the card vector. I'm gonna throw up. They didn't even get her main color correct in it. Roxy Rave. Once again, was this really the best mold for this pony? They got her expression correct at least. Though, seriously, why couldn't they draw on her pouch either? Why even make these super specific ponies at this point? Press release. I fear that my questions may be getting a little redundant along with this next pony. Snappy Scoop. It actually makes me kind of uncomfortable how this body type is so obviously Pinkie Pie, more than the actual Pinkie Pie mold, yet it's supposed to be somebody else, who, might I add, doesn't even look like this in the show. Snappy Scoop and Picture Frame get ready to take pictures. What do you mean she's getting ready? There's no cameras to take pictures within sight. Royal Ribbon. You're meaning to tell me that there's a mold literally for ponies with curly hair and bows, yet you're not going to use that mold for this one pony that it applies to, yet you're still going to use it for ponies it doesn't apply to anyways? Sure, the races would have been incorrect, but I think that would have been excusable here, especially because it's not like they cared about getting races correct earlier, and the body type literally looks like it was made for this pony. Hasbro. Are you stupid? Main Moon. Wow, if you can't be bothered to create a new Pegasus model for ponies with this hairstyle, go ahead and print wings overlapping with cutie marks. Quality. Whatever, at least he looks more accurate than anything else so far. Lyrica Lilac. This might be the most unnecessary pony in this wave. We already got a pretty high quality one from a set years ago, so why would you release this obvious downgrade? And like I said earlier, there are plenty of recolors of this pony to go around that they could have done instead. This is made even more egregious on the card, where all her accessories basically look like weird lumps on her skin at best. And if you're thinking, of course they won't color her stuff in, this is a cheaply made blind bag toy, may I refer you back to wave 11 where we got this pony had all this stuff in full color? Sweetie drops. Finally, a normal bonbon! It looks stupid and the old design was way better, but still, at least Lyra won't be alone no mo. It only took them 4 years since the old version. Also, this card design is repulsive. Twinkle Shine. Wow, yet another remake of an old figure. I actually like how this is so much more accurate than Twinkle Shine from Wave 2. How awesome. Still, it looks nothing like the actual Twinkle Shine, but it still is an improvement. Also, what's with this card? Twinkle Shine and Lotus Blossom can't wait for spa time. You know, that's actually kind of funny because they probably can't wait for it for two different reasons. Twinkle Shine because she actually wants to get a spa, and Lotus because that means that she'll get paid when that time comes. Twilight Sky. Finally, they fixed this guy's gray cutie mark color. It's funny how his eyes look like this because the toy was based off of this picture, but the mouth makes all the difference on what they're trying to feel here. Anyways, I think the juxtaposition of these two and how they're supposed to be the same pony really shows us the way that this toy line has evolved over the years. Though, once again, we'll go more depth into that topic later. Powder Rouge. Damn, she looks Asian. There's no way that this is how she actually looks like in the show, right? Wow. Okay. Oriental ponies are news to me, but Indian ones exist, so I guess it only makes sense. Still, she's another example of how some of these ponies look very empty without their outfits, which is something that they clearly had the ability and option to do something about. Powder Rouge and Lyrical Lilac like pretty jewelry. Oh, really? Is that why she's not wearing any? Lyra Heartstrings. Lyra and Bonbon in the same wave? I must be dreaming. Though, too bad they didn't pair them up together in either of their cards. That seems like a huge wasted opportunity. Anyways, this might be the most accurate Lyra so far, but that's not really a high hurdle by any stretch of the imagination. Amethyst Star. Too bad they still couldn't make her look accurate. I mean, what is this? Honestly, they really would have benefited from making a new mold for this body type, but oh well. Count Caesar. I appreciate the monocle, but why doesn't he also have the color? Whatever, I'm too jaded to say anything clever about this. Lotus Blossom. They probably did this redesign to be paired up with the Aloe set, since the Aloe does look much more updated than Lotus's old model, and the quality difference of these two might have been too noticeable, but I mean, there's no but to that statement. I just thought that was kind of an interesting observation. Moving on. Shoe Shine. Like what I said about Snappy Scoop, it's gross how this is obviously Pinkie Pie, but it's not Pinkie. Well, at least they got her colors right for once. And also, once again, I think putting her old version and new version side to side really shows us how we've progressed through this video to the point where the old waves and these new modern ones are kind of unrecognizable as being part of the same line. Though, speaking of which, what a jarring shift, right? No longer do we have any of the main 6 included, nor any glitter or transparent versions, nor any of the classic molds from Wave 1 besides these two. Also, the colors are less vibrant, which actually makes them look less cheaply made. But once again, I know I keep saying this, we'll come back to this later. For now, I just want to apologize that a lot of my commentary in this wave has largely been the same, but that's because most of this wave is falling into like the exact same pitfalls. Either not drawing on prints that should really be there, or not even making an effort to give these figures pretty essential accessories. My question is, if you're not going to do the required parts for a pony, why even make the pony? Literally, this wave has been showing technical improvements over every previous wave so far, but I think if they tried, they could have definitely modeled these hats and cameras and other accessories. They've done it for the collection, so I'm sure they could have done it here. And if they needed more time to figure that out, they still had Wave 2 they could have released again for the rest of us if they needed to buy themselves a few more months. They had no issue re-releasing Wave 1 without any changes, so they could have really just done the same with Wave 2. And if they still needed more time, they still had the Wave 7 ponies to release normal versions of. Or they could have even released updated versions of the Wave 1 ponies with these newer models. All of those options would have been perfectly reasonable and viable. They could have literally covered an entire year with all those ideas if they cared about taking that stalled time to actually improve their products in the long term. But no, feed us slop instead. Alright then, Wave 20. We're in the second tens now. Okay, let's take a look at this. Joan Pomeroy, Roger Silvermane, Pegasus Olsen, and Business Savvy. I put all these together because they're all pony versions of characters from the show Mad Men, and as an individual who knows literally nothing about Mad Men, I can't really give you any insight into whatever besides the same thing I've been saying for a lot of these ponies. Anyways, obviously, except for Joan Pomeroy, they are all missing prints that would have been super easy to do and would have made them look really good, especially in cases where the mold and the mains don't even match up. But I'm not sure if that's particularly a big deal here in specific, because, for example, if they made a minifigure of Heisenbuck and they didn't include the hat, as a fan of Breaking Bad, I'd have that extra thing to complain about since the hat is an integral part of who Heisenberg is. So similar to that, I couldn't really tell you if there's that kind of stuff with these guys. I don't know how integral their outfits or their expressions are or whatever. So definitely let me know if you're a fan of Mad Men and you see that kind of stuff going on with these toys. Blueberry Curls. Wow, this is a pretty decent figure. The bow on her hair actually needs to be there, and they even went out of their way of drawing on her earring. That's pretty awesome. Though, if we are being a little picky, they should have probably drawn a couple extra lines on her sweater. Also, I really wish that they would have given this mold's hair its own vector instead of stealing rarities on the card. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Percy Pink. Here's an updated version of an old character. This may seem like a very random and specific pony to make 2 versions of, but she's another character who was featured in a rarity episode, so there's that. It still does seem pretty weird that out of all the ponies, she's one of the ones that was apparently deserving of getting her clothing printed on her. Prim hemline. Wow, I can't believe they forgot her earring. Actually, I can believe that, unfortunately. Aside from that, the figure does look pretty solid, or at least pretty solid if this is supposed to be Prim hemline 40 years into the past. She looks so young compared to her show design. Also, why is her design in Equestria Girl so repulsive? What the fancy pants? Once again, this seems like a pretty solid design, even if it just looks like shining armor in a suit. Still, quite curious how much attention to detail they gave his outfit compared to Miss Pommel. Like, what the actual You're telling me you put that extra effort into these random background ponies that nobody even knows the name of, as opposed to a character who actually has a big role in the show? They couldn't even get her main color right. And why are her eyes so dilated? This sucks. Luckette. Wow, for a pony who claims that luck is her special talent, she doesn't seem to be getting very lucky in terms of merchandise in her likeness. Now, is she? I guess it's better than her old version, but still, her mold should have been the other one with curly hair, and this would have instantly looked way less weird. It's just dumb how her card boasts. Luckette and Mary Bell collect beautiful hats, yet neither of them are wearing hats. Also, isn't it awesome how under the merchandise section, her page on the wiki is outdated? She really doesn't seem that lucky to me. Very preppy. Isn't it interesting how she resembles Berry Shine's ghost costume from earlier? Especially because they have the exact same cutie mark. Except due to being white and being from a rarity-centric episode, she actually appears to be Silverberry? That's nothing too crazy since we've so far seen toy names that don't match up with show names. Mary Lynn. Wow, yet another pony that would have looked pretty great with the Florina Tart mold rather than the super specific pinky one. Mary Lynn wears super cute hats and bows. Oh really? Is that why you're not wearing either? Beau Demain. Holy moly, a figure where the main style is actually accurate. The colors on this guy look spot on that if they just drew on his suit, this would be perfect. Don Nay. This guy is a strange case. In the rarity-centric episode, The Saddle Row Review, he has this collar that the figure is missing. However, he doesn't wear anything in the episode Equestria Games, which would appear to make this figure be accurate to a T. So now you're probably thinking, why can't we just say as a community that this figure was actually based on the Equestria Games one? Look at the eye colors. Yeah, so close yet so far. Lavender Bloom. This is stupid. In the show, Lavender Bloom is literally Daisy / Flower Wishes down to the eye color and cutie mark, only in a suit. They're so similar, in fact, that multiple posts of her on Derpyburu contains the tags Lavender Bloom and Daisy and Flower Wishes. But regardless, this is how the toy of Lavender Bloom looks like. Do you see the issue here? This might as well just be a figure of Daisy. It doesn't help at all how this is how the card looks. She's paired up with another pony with the same mold, yet they look far from the same. Also strange how the vector is of the classic Applejack mold, when this is clearly not that, nor is the model present anywhere in this wave. Janine Mainwitz. Can't believe they printed her glasses, but not her collar. I also can't believe I don't even remember her from the show, yet when I looked her up on Derpyburu to see how she looks in the show, man, do a lot of people find her attractive for some reason. Perhaps I've just been living under a rock, but there seems to be a lot of fan discourse for a pony who doesn't even have her own page on the wiki. The English one, anyway. Mary Bell. Oh, hey, look, another pony who only has a page on the German version of the wiki. It's actually quite interesting how a handful of these ponies that we're talking about only have pages on the German My Little Pony wiki. I wonder why that is. Anyways, similar to Dawn Nay, you could say that this toy is accurate to this version of her, but then the cutie marks are completely different. So, also according to Derpyburu, it seems as though this pony has 3 different names, which is quite something. Mary Bell and Mary Lynn love beautiful accessories. Oh really? Is that why neither of them are wearing any accessories, beautiful or not? Upper East Stride. Isn't it interesting how making this pretty specific mold for a specific random pony actually paid off in terms of having accurate models like this? If only they realized this for the other common designs. Upper East Stride and Beau Demain wear fun and fancy ties. Oh really? Is that why he's clearly wearing a fun and fancy tie? Be sharp. Wow, okay, we're back to giving our ponies the wrong coat and hair colors along with inaccurate eye expressions. I thought we were past that. Also, what the is this card description? Be Sharp and Prim Hemline help run the fashion show. So the 2 ponies that happen to be running the fashion show that everybody else is excited for are both dark gray earth ponies. Seems like there's a bit of, I don't know, nepotism there, but okay. Silverberry. I'm actually gonna have an aneurysm. I'm going to attempt to explain why calmly. Why the f*** they released the exact same pony with the exact same cutie mark and colors in the exact same wave? And it's not like either of them got the hair color too accurate either. What were they thinking? Trick question, they weren't. Okay, I calmed down a bit. It seems as though Berry Preppy was actually supposed to be this pony. But if that's the case, why is her hair so off? Levin Song. Wow, there actually might be some sort of racist shenanigans going on at this fashion show, judging by how this brown pony got gray washed. And I get the irony of me saying this, being a gray pony myself, but I pride myself as being a magic-wielding unicorn and not one of those pesky, mud-eating earth ponies, so I'm not racist. Also, is it stupid or what with what they did with his sunglasses? It does seem like they gave the part behind the lenses a bit of a purple tint, but nowhere close to what his show design and card promises. So speaking of his card, Levin Song and B Sharp are big music fans. Yeah, we can tell since they both lazily have the exact same cutie mark. Strawberry Ice. Wrong coat and hair color. Man, does it feel like we've actually evolved backwards with this toy line. They were doing so good and now it's like we're back at square one. Strawberry Ice and Berry Preppy like the same fashions. Like what? As in both not wearing anything? Naysayer. I actually like this guy's design in the show a lot, and his hat and scarf really complement his color scheme and overall design pretty well. So what the f is this? His card design really is no better. Like, come on now. Swanky Hank. Why would they make his card vector literally the wrong model? The stupidest part is that the mold on the card would have probably been more accurate of a hairstyle than this. Also, it seems as though every instance of him has his eyes half closed, so they should have probably also given him those eyes. We were doing so good. What happened? Swanky Hank in Upper East Stride wear chic and classy fashions. Wow, I didn't know that being buck naked counted as a chic and classy fashion in this universe. Gone are the days of yesteryear where we had all these creative new ponies that'd be begging to be featured in the show. Now we have these characters based on random characters that nobody remembers. Which, like we've established, I love my background ponies, but come on, these were just L-A-M-E. Lame. It's strange how the packaging insists that this wave is based around the movie, but there's literally not a single pony here on the art that insinuates literally anything to do with the movie. In fact, none of the characters in this entire wave make any sort of notable appearance in the movie. Besides Applejack, I guess. But I don't even remember her doing anything important in it. But whatever, let's just get started. Savvy Saddles. I guess the main thing about this is how she's called Savvy Saddles when her name is actually Sassy Saddles. That, and you would think that if they have the ability to add unnecessary glitter to her mane and tail, they could also add a streak of yellow in it too, but oh well. Honestly, I commend the effort of trying to design her outfit since it does look rather complicated to translate into this minifigure, but if it weren't for the super specific eye design, it'd be pretty hard to tell that these are even the same character. Also, you would think that judging by how Sassy Saddles is such a rarity-centric character, this would be another wave relating to the rarity collection, but as the packaging suggests, this is the movie wave. That's totally not stupid at all. Moon Dancer. Alright, as stupid as the fact that this figure of her with glitter is the only Moon Dancer figure that exists is, at least they put in streaks of purple in her mane. Though, before we get too far into this wave, I should mention that now we've completely ditched the vectors on the cards being recolors, and now we're being fed straight up lies instead. Be prepared to see some egregious cases of this coming up real soon. Trenderhoof. Honestly, this figure is not too bad. Obviously, him being a flim recolor does hold his hair back from making this minifigure perfect, but it looks good enough. Though his card looks terrifying. What is that, Herobrine? Also, once again, did we really have to give this guy glitter hair? There's a bunch of miscellaneous Crystal Empire ponies in this wave that could have actually used glitter hair, but instead, you'd rather never give these cool unique ponies that people actually care about normal versions. Fantastic. Sven Gallop. This is stupid. Like, the suit and hairstyle and colors are all good, but Sven Gallop is one of those ponies who always have a particular expression in his eyes. His card even knows this. So why does this figure have to look so innocent? I don't know, this was probably him before he got corrupted by show business. Also, I like Sven Gallop as a character, which may be an unpopular opinion, but I grew attached to him due to the mobile game. But I think the Countess Coloratura deserves a figure more than this guy. What were they thinking? Royal Guard. Interesting how this is the first instance of a Royal Guard being made into a blind bag, and damn near the only time there's even been merch of these guys in general, when this is a character who's been in the show since Season 1, Episode 1. Still, I guess this figure does look pretty decent, though due to the helmet area not having this extra thing between the fake mane parts. Yes, that mane is a part of the armor and not his actual hair, in case someone tries making a fool of themselves in the comments. This just looks like his normal mane. And now that I'm looking at this card, I just realized that he literally just looks like Big Mac in white body paint and armor. That's quite something. Sapphire Joy, Crystal Bow, Elbow Grease, Ivory Rook, and Fleur de Verre. I put all these crystal ponies together since the main point I want to make applies to all of them. Firstly, they all look fine for what they're trying to accomplish, though I would argue that giving these guys glitter hair instead of those other ones who actually got them would have been the smarter choice, mostly because these crystal ponies have shiny hair in the show, but also, 1, so that we can have actual normal versions of these ponies who deserve normal versions. And 2, using your glitter budget on these miscellaneous crystal ponies would have actually made them instantly look less generic and less NPC looking. Because the way that it stands here, these 5 get cool outfits plus glitter hair, and the rest of these guys are just left as rejects that nobody can even tell the f apart. It's a bit of an imbalance whenever you buy a blind bag and you know that these guys are options, yet you end up with this. Like, what the heck? I know that might have been to encourage people to buy more to specifically look for the special ones, but come on, is wanting a little balance that taboo? Brayburn. Alright, seriously? This is disgusting. At least make his hair color correct. Secondly, either go through the effort of giving him a hat and his vest, or just don't make him. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said that this new method of using vectors from the show rather than recoloring toy bases started being used on these cards, and it looks horrendous. Though I honestly prefer this since it does look cooler, but this is a little too much, is it not? It's just all the more baffling when you realize that this is the only toy of Brayburn ever released in any capacity. And this is how they treat someone who's also been with us since the beginning. Applejack. Oh hey look, our first main 6 appearance in a while, in this new mold. And by new mold, of course I mean repurposed mold, even when the pose makes no sense with the rest of the set. Well, repurposed except for the red on her tailband. Aside from that, why is the mane on her card look really off? That does not seem like Applejack to me. Still, I guess this shows us where we're at, as in, even when they're releasing ponies who've already been released, they're not doing so using the classic molds. And also they spelled Applejack as 2 words for some reason. Apple Bumpkin. In what world are these the same colors whatsoever? Also, like we were just saying with Applejack, they really are shifting away from the classic molds when re-releasing these remakes. Seems like they're not shifting away from the same generic card descriptions though. She's always loyal to her friends. Bro thinks she Rainbow Dash. Perfect pie. Great, a 3rd example in a row. I honestly have to say I prefer the old version with this one since it seems to do a better job at portraying the character than this one, which is super ironic considering for the old version, I said it should use a different model. But I guess even then, this new model isn't as good as the old one. That probably says something about how unnecessary this new version of her was. Granny Smith. That's disgusting, and I'd have nothing else to say for it if it weren't for the fact that they decided to remove her eyelashes from her old version and to put her cutie mark on the other side of her body. That was totally necessary. Sassaflash. Holy crap, do the makers of this toy line have a crush on her for some reason? This is the 10th version of this exact specific pony so far. The Wave 4 glitter, Wave 6 normal, Wave 8 neon, Wave 10 glitter, Wave 14 transparent, Wave 16 costume, Wave 16 thing, and Wave 18 glitter. And finally, this Wave 21 normal. Like, what the f***? Not to mention how this looks spot on. It's like they really wanted to give this random background pony with no lines extra attention. There must have been someone working here whose waifu was Sassaflash. This is too suspicious not to consider that as a valid theory. Spring Melody. Alrighty, we're now at the 2nd figure that just prints wings rather than making the pony a Pegasus. I can't tell if this is clever or lazy or cleverly lazy. It does kind of stick out in a bad way, but I'll just look on the bright side and assume that this means that they're actually beginning to pay more attention to the rest of the body, like making sure that the characters' hairstyles are also considered when making these recolors rather than just their race. Also, isn't it stupid how she's been made 2 times before under the name Sprinkle Medley, but now she's called Spring Melody all of a sudden? That's dumb. Orange Swirl. Great. Same with Spring Melody, her wings really do stick out in a bad way. But I guess this is the extent they'll go in order to not use the old Pegasus mold for some reason. While the change is welcome, since we wouldn't really want every single Pegasus to look the exact same, I just hope they don't get too used to this printing wings method, because if they can print wings, they can 100% print clothing on all those Apple ponies they didn't do anything for. Blue Buck. Interesting how there's pages for this pony on the Spanish and Polish versions of the wiki, but not on the English nor German ones. Also interesting how this pony is a recolor of Derpy, and there was a straight up Derpy mold, yet they chose to make the figure not a Derpy recolor to make her look nothing like how she does in the show. Congratulations! Fleetfoot. This ain't too bad, I think. Interesting how this is how our old model used to look, though. I guess they just really want to scrub their history of using these old molds. Ant Orange. Dang, after years of Toy Uncle Orange being a bachelor, his wife has finally come into existence. How awesome. The figure itself seems cool too, and I really like how they made the eyes look like how they usually are, unlike Sven Gallop. Still, would it have been so much to ask for them to have drawn on her necklace? Dainty Dove. Same with her. Couldn't we draw on this collar? Like, I can't imagine the level of disappointment one must have felt when seeing that this wave has these guys in it just to get this diamond cutter. Same with this guy. Interesting how they kept the original Big Mac mold in circulation at this point, when they didn't have to for this guy since his design looks like it would have been suited better for the Golden Delicious mold, but oh well. He loves showing friends Manhattan style. What is that? A parody of Gangnam Style? Mostly orange. Mostly orange? He looks mostly... It's quite dumb how out of all the ponies, they decided to remake this guy as well, when there have been multiple versions of him already. It's not as egregious as Sassaflash, and I like the new eyes, but still. At least having him in the same wave as the grand return of his niece and the premiere of his wife is quite wholesome. But because there's a negative part about me that just won't shut up, I've also got to point out how in the episode where they're from, Applejack calls them Aunt and Uncle Orange, yet this toy line has been calling the uncle mostly Orange this whole time, giving him an actual first name, while only calling Aunt Orange, well, Aunt Orange, so we'll never get to know what her first name is. That's stupid. Remember how we saw these Friendship is Magic branded blind bags were released in conjunction with those collection sets, like the Apple Family, Rarity, and Nightmare Night? Well, the collection in question here, as the package suggests, is the movie line, which is dumb since the figures in this wave don't reflect the movie, like I said. Instead, the gimmick for this wave seems to have been separating these ponies into Canterlot, the Crystal Empire, Sweet Apple Acres, Cloudsdale, and Manhattan, which is a cool concept, but the next wave is going to do the exact same thing. So I don't understand why they didn't just group all those ponies that belong to a certain state together and release those as different waves along with some playsets relating to each location. That would have made this easier to tie this in with the main collection, but okay. Since a decent chunk of this wave are remakes of already released ponies, I'll just put those guys all together rather than talking about them all individually. Derpy, Rainbow Dash, Thunderlane, Big Macintosh, DJ Pon 3, Octavia, Melody, Apple Fritter, Cherry Berry, and Button Bell. The main point I want to make by putting these all together is to show that, aside from Derpy, or rather, Muffin Emoji with normal eyes, they've really gone away from using the same old basic models that's been carrying this entire toy line for 6 to 7 years. You can really see this change in Apple Fritter, Cherry Berry, and Surrey. Or Button Bell. Though, with Derpy in specific, it's quite interesting how she had her own mold in a set, and now she's a Rainbow Dash recolor, whereas Rainbow Dash is now a recolor of the Derpy model. Where's the logic in that? Though, I will say that Rainbow Dash does look cooler as this mold, especially with those eyes that actually reflect her confident and competitive personality, as opposed to those sleepy idle ones. Though, on the other hand, they made Big Mac's eyes look more sleepy, which is more accurate to the show, obviously. Still, it's stupid how they went out of their way to give Thunderlane the suit that nobody thought was necessary, rather than giving Big Mac his collar thing like his card would have you believe. Lastly, it's dumb how the Octavia in this wave looks really stupid, but it's as if they wanted to put Vinyl and Octavia in the same wave, like how Bonbon and Lyra were in the same wave earlier, yet they didn't think it would be cost-effective to put this version in as a blind big, so we ended up with this weird thing instead. Kill it with fire! Though, speaking of fire, Fire Streak. Interesting how he had a whole Wonderbolt collection set, yet there's still more Wonderbolts to go around. At least they got his name right. But on that, great job capitalizing Wonderbolt, Fluffy Cloudsdale. The stupid part about this guy is how his card clearly states that his name is Fluffy Cloudsdale, yet when we punch that into Derpy Buru, nothing comes up. Nada. Zilch. Then additional poking around revealed that his actual name is simply Fluffy Clouds. Which, sure, I get why the name was changed, to be able to trademark it, but it just took me aback how Derpy Buru didn't catalog the character with that name, when we've seen in this video alone that the site catalogs characters under multiple names. Strange. Still, I appreciate how random of a character this is, yet they put in the effort of drawing on his wings and bow tie. Not bad. Starlight Glimmer. Yeah, can you believe that this is the only normal Starlight Glimmer minifigure ever released? This is akin to how this was the only release of Sunset, but at least this looks higher quality. They got her expression spot on and her hairstyle ain't too bad for her old design. Wolfgang Cantor. Well, this is dumb. There's like no results on who this guy is when you look up his name on the card, and this was to the point where I had to wonder if we're actually back to toy exclusive characters. But nah, his name is Concerto. I simultaneously have no idea why the card says Wolfgang Cantor and why that name isn't more widely used than something lame like Concerto. Though, speaking of lame, this is so boring. Give the man his bow, or at least give him a different expression on the eyes. This is just really lame. Symphony Song. Same with her. Judging by her card, you could have made her a recolor of the original Octavia mold, but nah. We've got to make sure our figures look as lame as humanly possible, right guys? Golden hooves. Alright, I appreciate the hat, even if it has the hospital cross thing on it. Rook's Rampart. Isn't it amazing how the way he's angled on the card, he just looks like Mike Wazowski? Isn't it also lovely how his cutie mark is gigantic for no reason? Like, why? Isn't it also lovely how his name on Derpy Bureau is Rook Ramparts rather than Rook's Rampart like the card? What? Huh? How does any of that even happen? Is it because Rook Ramparts is a fan-given name and Hasbro didn't want to use it? Because it is a fan-given name, but we're too lazy to come up with anything new on their part, so they just switched up what word becomes plural? Lilac Luster. Okay, look, Lemon Zest. Oh, what? This is Lilac Luster. Lilac Luster? More like lackluster. What is this? They didn't even give her the eyeshadow when eyeshadow technology was here since Wave 1. Also, what's with this description? She loves shiny, happy friends. So she doesn't love happy friends who aren't shiny? As in, she won't be friends with anyone who ain't a fellow crystal pony? Yeah, sure, I may be the same way but with unicorns, but come on, that's a little discriminatory of you. Shame on you. Autumn Gem. Great, another humongous cutie mark. Other than that, there's literally nothing to comment about this guy. Like I said earlier, at least if they saved their glitter budget on crystal ponies, they'd actually look less generic and stand out in their own unique way, but no. Golden glitter. There's nothing I can say about her either. Literally everything I said about Autumn Gem applies to her. This is just lame. Cherry Fizz. Wow, an actually pretty accurate figure. This would be 100% there if it weren't for how gigantic his cutie mark is though. Also, it's flipped. Cherry's Jubilant. What is this? The Cherry Wave? I showed her earlier when talking about the remakes, but Cherry Berry was also in this wave. Anyways, what's with her name? What was wrong with just calling her Cherry Jubilee? Changing it to Cherry's Jubilant just reminds me of that increasingly verbose meme. This is stupid. Once again, why do we evolve backwards in terms of eyeshadow printing technology? Especially when they went through the effort of giving her that cheek dot. This is dumb. Berry Rich. I'm just going to assume that the reason they changed Filthy Rich's name to this is because they didn't want to put the word filthy into one of their products, but that's still pretty stupid since it just comes across as them putting the word berry into his name to make this feel even more like a cherry wave. At least Berry Rich is also a play on words like Filthy Rich, and it makes me feel less alone when making those stupid puns out of their names. Anyways, I like how they went out of their way to print out his eyebrows, but not his signature tie. Just kidding, no I don't, that's dumb. That and the mold overall just makes him look about 30 years younger than his show design, so at least he wins in that regard. Tall Order. Interesting how this is another instance of a usually brown pony getting gray washed in toy form. That's totally not because this toy line was run by gray ponies such as I and that's why I have a vested interest in it. No, totally not. This is just a strange coincidence. Or is it? Lady Gavel. Isn't it amazing how just like Prim Hemline and Filthy Rich's figures made them look 70 years younger? This toy makes this pony look 70 years older? I think Hasbro better offer this pony an apology. Like, what is this? Were they so stingy to the point where they had to absolutely reuse the Granny Smith mold and made this? I get that this mold is the only one with the bun for a tail, but still, that's disgusting. It's especially gross how this is one of the ponies that they specifically wanted to advertise on this wave's packaging, yet this is all they had to show for it. It's really dumb how starting from Wave 16, whoever's in charge of these basically decided to make 5 out of the 24 ponies in a Wave Special Edition, with putting pretty much no effort into the other 19 in the Wave. Like, Wave 16 to 18 were full of generic stuff, but except with 5 special chase ponies each. Wave 19 and 20 had 5 ponies with printed clothing, and Wave 21 and 22 had 5 ponies with glitter mains and outfits. I don't know if there was some kind of restriction that let them have only 5 glitters or only let them have 5 printed ponies, but you wouldn't think so with glitters at least, since we've had multiple waves full of exclusively glittered ponies. Enough glitter to cover their entire bodies and not just their mains at that. But even if there was a limit on how many figures per wave could have glitter hair or body prints, why would we waste both opportunities on the same ponies who don't even need glitter hair? This is the billionth time I'm saying this, but I genuinely think that the crystal ponies would have looked way better with glitter mains, and it wouldn't have even mattered if there was no normal versions of them, because it would have been more accurate to the show designs anyways. Once again, this wave was also a part of the Friendship is Magic series under the movie collection, even if these ponies have nothing to do with the movie either. But enough stalling with that, let's just talk about the movie sets. Surely if these movie blind bag waves were so lame, they went all out to make minifigures of all sorts of cool new characters from the movie for the actual collection sets, right? Surely this will be another case of the Nightmare Night wave, where the blind bag figures sucked, but the collection figures were genuinely beautifully crafted, right? Well, honestly, yeah, though the selection is rather weak. The extent of what we got was Shining Armor, Pinkie Pie, and the Cutie Mark Crusaders with a Discord balloon, which pretty much have nothing to do with the movie. Though the main attraction of this collection was the Canterlot Castle, which finally made Philomena into a minifigure, and that's pretty awesome. This is because the collection wasn't necessarily for the movie, it was more of a Canterlot collection, only with some elements from the movie. Like obviously we got the Storm King here, and got this Tempest, Shadow, and Grubber separately, which do look pretty awesome. Still, I guess this wasn't meant to be an exclusively movie-related collection, which is stupid, and it's becoming obvious that both this collection and Blind Bag Waves only had the logo of the movie to advertise the movie without giving a crap about how the consumers feel about what they're actually buying. Though, if you're one of the 2 people who actually remember the movie and somehow liked it, you'll be pleased to hear that there was also a set exclusive to Target that was explicitly about the movie. Magic of Every Pony Roundup. Wow, the main 6 in their old early molds, instead of the ones that the blind bags were somehow doing better in. Okay. Well, to be fair, they did put Rarity's Cutie Mark on the other side, so that's something. Though it's incredibly jarring after seeing it like this for years to now suddenly be subject to this. If this was to make all the good guys be facing left with the villain facing right, does this mean that Rainbow Dash is secretly a villain? Though, speaking of which, we've got 3 dead princesses. That's a tiny morbid, isn't it? At least we got this new Tempest Shadow, but why is she the only one who's named on the package? Anyways, that's literally it for the movie-related stuff. Yes, they genuinely put in more money and effort into making something based off a single episode rather than an entire movie. Bruh. Speaking of figures from earlier waves, most of Wave 23 is composed of updated versions of figures who were already released in modern styles. Similar to the remakes in the last wave, it's becoming more and more clear that the original molds are just a thing of the past. This becomes even more apparent when you see how Sun Shower Raindrops is the only Fluttershy mold recolor in this entire toy line, when this is literally the one instance where a basic Rainbow Dash recolor would have been perfectly acceptable, like her old version. That, and they also tried to include more unique mold characters too in this wave. I have to wonder if they felt embarrassed by how blatantly they were reusing the exact same thing over and over again, or if this was an organic expansion and evolution to their brand. Still, why would they release a completely inferior version of Mr. Carrot Cake who was already in a blind bag wave? But on that topic, Icy Mist and Lyrica Lilac have become lazier than their set counterparts. Lyrica especially, since she actually has 1 color less on her cutie mark than the Wave 19 version. That and how Mary May has 1 solid hair color now. I'm shocked that they even gave Twilight the highlight in her main at this point, though her card pretends like this mold thing isn't even there and uses this vector of her. Aside from that, it's kind of sad how this is really the best Shirley got in this entire line, despite being with us since season 1. I could say the same thing about Trixie too. What a scam. Gemshine Guard. Literally the one time it would have been appropriate to make the entire thing glitter, you chose to only do the hair. Bravo. Still, I actually appreciate the design of his hoof armor. Though, once again, this is really too little too late. Bright smile. The figure looks fine, I guess. He smiles bright with his friends. Well, that seems more like an average smile as opposed to this alleged bright one, but sure. Honey Sparkle. Great, another pony who doesn't show up on Derpy when you look up the toy name up. The only reason I'm even pointing this out is because, for those of you who don't use the site, and for good reason, Derpy search is very robust and pulls up a lot of specific pictures and screenshots and art that Google Images has a hard time finding stuff for. However, now it seems as though we have actually found a potential blind spot for its search tool, which is these late-era toy names being indexed along with the normal names of these ponies. That aside, I guess this figure of Glamour Gleam is pretty neat. They got the expression pretty good, it's just that this mold has really chubby baby cheeks that make their faces look weird. Still, was anyone really asking for such a high effort Bonafide over a higher effort Trixie, or a higher effort Shirley, or a higher effort him? At least fans of Honeycomb made out like a bandit. Baby Flurry Heart. Wow, thanks for specifying that this is Baby Flurry Heart. I almost thought that this was supposed to be the adult Flurry Heart. Catastrophe averted. Still, what a curious case. This is the first release of Flurry Heart as a minifigure, but I have a hard time seriously believing that they modeled this exclusive mold just for this. Yes, she got released in a normal set eventually, but that was after. Are we to assume that they repurposed the model from the Blindbag into the set, or the other way around, with the Blindbag one being released earlier for some reason? Though, too bad they never made a Nightlight figure. We almost had the entire Twilight family, but oh well. Though, I guess Twilight should consider herself lucky for having one, let alone 4 of her family members made into figures when considering the competition. Trousseau Palm. Oh hey, look! A pony they can't possibly mess up! Well, why couldn't this just be a Big Mac mold? What a way to leave off this wave. So yeah, that was the second last wave, and we can really see that this toy line has drastically evolved to the point where the quality and overall demeanor of these figures are different from the first few waves. And while this change may seem sudden, these changes were actually happening under our noses the entire time. The expressive eyes and new molds, I think I did a pretty decent job showing how they were phased into these waves as they went on, along with noting when the new molds were introduced. However, all this body print stuff really came with wave 16, since none of the new ponies used any of the classic molds. It was just done in a deceiving and subtle manner, since the majority of the wave was variant versions of previous figures. I really wonder why this change was made. Alright then, our final Blindbag wave ever released. Because I don't have most of the figures from this wave, just like the previous couple, and the pictures of this wave's ponies in specific available online are way lower quality than usual, and the cards aren't archived on MLPmerch.com, I have decided to steal footage from OkamiGirl64, just so y'all can get a clearer look at them. Now, I know that my hands are much more attractive than hers, and you're probably growing a little bit depressed because you're not going to be able to see mine for a while, but just bear with me for a bit, this is for your own good. Rarity. I like the eyes because they're so much more expressive than what we've seen so far, and it's cool that they're giving this more modern spin on an older model to update it. In fact, the first thing OkamiGirl64 mentions when opening this is exactly what I pretty much just said.
Oh my goodness, I love her eye.
Listen to how genuinely excited and relieved she sounds.
Look at those eyes. I am shocked they actually decided to do something new. That's insane. Alright, that's a pleasant little surprise there.
That gives me a little solace in knowing that I'm not alone in having found those original eyes kind of weird. That's all good, but why must her mane be glitter? Is it so taboo to just want a normal version of a new design before getting a variant version? Sweetie drops. Same with this one. There's no non-glitter of this figure, which is stupid. And also, why is this the one card that's still a recolor? What the fuck? Neon lights. Yay, my hands are back. Aside from that, I literally have nothing to add for him either. At least there's not a single crystal pony in this wave, so the same criticism I've been repeating over and over again doesn't really apply here. Deputy Copper. Now, on the surface, she looks cool. In fact, even slightly below the surface, she's cool. Like, I can totally see that if I was a kid playing with toys and I needed police for my town, this figure is good for that kind of stuff. But once again, why must her hair be glitter? Aside from that, she has the medic cap with the cross etched in, which is pretty distracting. Also not a huge fan of her eyes popping out of her glasses, because the main point of sunglasses is to hide your eyes, which is what makes sunglasses cool. This is just gross. Otherwise, this would be awesome. It just sucks that like a whole bunch of these figures are so close to being perfect, yet they have that one flaw that makes them just complete wasted potential, because you know they're not gonna like make multiple versions of this character. It's just kind of sad if you think about it that way. Spoiled Milk. This seems like a pretty solid figure. I guess it's also kind of fitting how she has glitter hair since she's rich and snobby. Though, as much as I like her since she yells at Diamond Tiara, which is funny.
Over Equestria. Don't ever forget that diamond tiara.
I know she's a lot of people's least favorite pony, so the question is, why would they put all this extra attention to her and not somebody else that people would genuinely want a special figure of? This is just Sven Gallop all over again. Mod Rock Pie. Seeing as this is just Mod Pie from the Pinky collection, just without the tunic, why couldn't they just take this opportunity to release limestone or marble instead? They could have literally used this mold to be limestone and it would have been probably pretty excusable. Lily Valley. Great. You took a figure that would have looked completely fine, perfect in fact, if it wasn't transparent, yet you decided to remake it into this? That's dumb. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Still, because this is the final wave of Blindbags ever released, seeing this throwback to a pony who's been used as a recurring running gag all the way back in Season 1 is a little bittersweet. It's like we're finally looping back to the beginning to come full circle to say goodbye. Zecora. Same with her. Yeah, Zecora was used more consistently than Lily Valley throughout the show, but she was also introduced in Season 1. So it really does feel like we're coming full circle to say goodbye to all these characters that's been with us since the beginning. Diamond Tiara. Same with her. Interesting how despite using the same model as the set version from years past, this version looks so much more accurate to the show. Still, judging by how her mom was in this wave, It's strange how Filthy Rich was included 2 waves ago and not this one. Seems like it could have been a cool opportunity to include the entire family all together, but oh well. Raven Inkwell.
And here's Inkwell right here.
Look at how they massacred our girl. I know I did say that the Nightmare Knight version of her is the only toy of her ever released, and I still stand by that statement because how the f are these two even the same pony? The tie aside, where are her glasses? Did they think that was also a part of her Nightmare Knight costume? Trouble shoes. Speaking of super disgusting designs, they probably thought they were being super creative and intelligent with this, but man does it look awful. Guess this poor fella can't catch a break, especially when you compare size with Apple Bloom, Apple Brown Betty. You know, at least with the Pinky V1 recolors, they didn't have a hairstyle that is so obviously something that only applies to Pinky. In fact, isn't it kind of weird how this mold has actually been phased out altogether in these last few waves? I don't know, call it Stockholm Syndrome, but I can't help but feel a little nostalgic towards the freaking awful Pinky mold. Apple cider. I guess. Though, this could have been an excusable time to use the old Applejack model and utilize the knots in her hair. But whatever, the colors seem pretty enough. Though, it is dumb how the cutie mark is on the backside and not the front. I can say the same about the other modern instances of reusing classic molds. I don't know, it really seems like they just want to distance themselves from the old stuff. Lavender Fritter. Great! Another example of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The old version of her looked perfectly fine. What's this supposed to be? We're already filling this wave with redundant releases. Can't we do a little better than this? Florina Tart. Well, I guess the f not. This entire mold in the first place was for Florina Tart. And aside from the eye, that Florina part was perfectly fine. This version literally solves that problem by adding a brand new one, as in the bow not being colored in. Where's the logic in that? Especially now that her hair is one solid color, unlike the perfection in the original model. This is stupid and redundant. Fluttershy. At least with the other main 6 releases in the last couple waves, they changed something noticeable. The only thing different with this is that the cutie mark is now on the other side of her. Huh? What's even the point of that? Sun shower.
We haven't seen this mold before, so that's pretty nice. Well, in this wave anyways.
Lovely. What even is this expression she's making? Soren. Same with this one! His old versions were perfectly fine. Why do we need to remake these so unnecessarily? Are they getting lazy now that we're on the final wave? Stormbreaker. I've really gotta ask, what did they go through in order to make sure that none of these ponies are allowed to have multicolored manes anymore? This is just sad. It reminds me of the budget series Equestria Girls dolls, and in case you didn't know, being compared to the budget series Equestria Girls dolls might as well be one of the worst things to ever be called. Cloud Chaser. We are finally at the other Cloud Chaser. Now, with the amount of background characters there are in the show, it's not too surprising that some of them would end up having the same names, but it's both really funny and really dumb how the wiki makes the two share the same page for some reason. Anyways, despite the cutie mark being on the backside, it's still nice to see that the final wave has at least one instance of the classic Rainbow Dash mold. Even if the figure is super inaccurate in regards to the hairstyle, there still is a welcome inconsistency in the context of where we are in this toy line. Double Diamond. At least this guy is one solid color, so there's nothing too off about him. But not only is there nothing too off about him, there's also nothing to him. Moving on. Fleur-de-lis. I don't think these two look anything like each other, but sure. This looks more like Twinkle Shine than anything that remotely resembles Fleur-de-lis. But I'm honestly just jaded and defeated after going through all this stuff we've gone through today. And there are 2 ponies left in this wave, so let's just hope we end off on a high note. Noteworthy.
He has not changed one bit. So here is noteworthy, other than they used the different mold for him.
Okay, to be fair, they did finally fix his cutie mark and eye color. But seriously? Why him? It's not like we've run out of ponies to make figures of. Lyra Heartstrings. Alright then, so we're at our last pony now, or at least as far as Blindbags are concerned. Let's just check it out. What is...
Here is Lyra Heartstrings. Definitely love this mold for her. It is so perfect, better than the Rarity mold that...
Once again, interesting how Bonbon and Lyra were released again in the same wave. It seems as though in terms of all those classic fandom characters, these last few waves have been coming into clutch. Like, they released the entire real main 6, which is nice. Still, this Lyra is a total downgrade since the last Lyra, and I have to wonder why they put both Lyra and Bonbon in the same wave again, after doing so in wave 19. It really comes across as them trying to fill this wave with the laziest things imaginable. What a note to leave our final wave on. I'm just wondering why they stopped giving these ponies multiple colors in their manes and tails. That was literally a staple of these figures since the first wave. Did they also have a limit on how much color they were allowed to use per wave? And all that went to Deputy Copper and Spoiled Milk? Or were they just lazy? Lyra's figure is really the most egregious example of this since they didn't even give her a new model. They literally only downgraded her. That's stupid. This just leaves us with a sour taste in our mouths. At least there were still a bit more higher effort things that were released afterwards. The stupid thing about these is how I found these being sold in a store, but they didn't have the Fluttershy one in stock. And I was going to actually display these all around my room, but now I can't without making it very unbalanced with Fluttershy missing. What a scam. Also, it's really dumb how this release is called the Friendship is Magic Collection within the Friendship is Magic Collection. Ah! And who knows why Rarity and Pinky didn't get these single packs like this release. This is like coming full circle in regards to those classic single packs when they left out Fluttershy earlier. Anyways, the figures themselves look pretty awesome. Though it's kind of dumb how Rainbow Dash still uses her Wave 1 mold in her single pack, whereas literally everyone else gets a new mold. Twilight looks similar, but her crown is detachable here, so that's new. Not to mention how Rainbow Dash's eye color isn't even accurate anymore. Though while Pinky, Applejack, and Rarity look awesome, I would argue that this is kind of unnecessary for Fluttershy. Ugh, I just bit my lip. Oh my... Anyways. I would argue that this was kind of unnecessary for Fluttershy since these are probably made to be the most accurate versions of the main 6 as minifigures, yet they gave Fluttershy some strange hairstyle instead of her normal one. Also, what's the point of giving Applejack the wrong hat in the set pack while keeping it accurate in the single pack that I don't have? What a scam! Okay, I kind of lied. This is technically the last blind bag wave. Though, also technically not, since they didn't come in bags, they came in boxes, so they're not really blind bags. But they do contain the same type of minifigure, so let's take a look. But before we do, I do want to mention how, once again, it's fascinating how we went from Derpy being a Rainbow Dash recolor to Rainbow Dash being a Derpy recolor. Wait, no, because recolor implies that there's color on this. Recolor implies that there's any color on this wave. This wave is lazy, and not only is it lazy, but it's also stupid. For example, it contains the only toy of Star Swirl the Bearded ever. Yeah, I totally see the resemblance. It also has this version of Starlight Glimmer. How stupid. Also stupid is how Flam gets a hat, but Flim doesn't. And neither of them have the mischievous eyes they always have for some reason. They look so innocent here, when the special best gift ever might have actually been the worst they've been through the entire franchise. Not to mention how this Twinkle Shine is actually a glitter version of the Europe exclusive Wave 2 version and not the worldwide one. And this glitter version of Cheerly is the Wave 23 one and not the Wave 2 version. Now why'd they go ahead and do that? This entire wave is such a mess. At least the packaging is kind of pretty. Like, the special literally introduced new Speaking World characters. Couldn't we have gotten toys of them instead of these random characters literally nobody cares about? This lat doesn't even appear in the special. Though, speaking of specials... Well, this is the end. We are finally at the very last My Little Pony Friendship is Magic minifigure wave actually ever released. Made to tie in with the mini-movie Rainbow Road Trip. And even though the special was mid, it introduced new characters, so hopefully we'll at least get some figures based off of them to end us off on high notes. Also because Rainbow Road Trip is a special based on the concept of color and the rainbow, surely this will be the most colorful wave yet! I know that inflation is through the roof right now, but is it really that extra expensive to print multiple colors? Now, I'd be lying if I said that this design wasn't pretty cool, but it'd be cooler if it had color. There was also this set, which I will admit looks pretty cool, even if the princesses and Gummy weren't even involved with the special. There was this set also released in 2019, which is probably the most generic set we've ever seen so far. Also, I somehow just only now realized how truly gross it is that Twilight's eyes are this low. Why couldn't they just nudge it up a couple pixels? At least we ended up getting a normal Flurry Heart finally. Anyways, there were also these baby versions of the main 6 released, and they look terrifying. They initially look pretty okay until you realize that they're all wearing diapers, which makes you wonder who this is made for. Okay, so it's either for babies who like playing toys of other babies for some reason, or it's for perverts who are into diapers. I don't think I want to be grouped in with either one of those categories, so I'll just steer clear from owning this for myself ever. Not to mention how stupid it is how Twilight's a baby here, yet she is an alicorn. 0 out of 10 plot consistency. Just so we don't have to end on such a sour note, and also just to have a trip through nostalgia lane, let us take a look at all this miscellaneous merch involving these blind bake figures that came out throughout the years that we haven't talked about yet. Starting with Advent Calendar. I think it's kind of gross how instead of giving us new versions of these figures with Santa hats or whatever, all we got was a normal Pinky, Dashy, and Twilight. And also these weird things that don't even feel like they belong in the same universe as My Little Pony. The thing is that if you were at the point of buying a My Little Pony advent calendar, you probably already had the main 6, but whatever.
Regnbågsspelet.
Game. So here's a Sweden exclusive set / game thing. This was so in the know with the fandom all the way back in 2011 that it put Lyra in the box art, just to still use this one. It's even more insulting how Twilight was also included, making it super obvious that it's a recolor. Though without even speaking the language, I can tell exactly how to play this game. Seems as though graphic dice are a universal language. This looks super fun and I want one. Rainbow Magic game. Unlike this game, this looks super complicated. It's also super complicated how the original release of this game included these 4, but they released it with Alicorn Twilight later on. Isn't it just so amazing how they made this new mold for Alicorn Twilight just for this board game, meaning that this is like the only figure of Alicorn Twilight without her crown, when Twilight's entire character is that she doesn't even like wearing her crown in the first place?
Twilight! Oh, sorry, darling. But I just realized you're not wearing your crown.
I feel a little self-conscious about wearing it.
11 out of 10. Other than that, there were some other miscellaneous board games released. Chutes and Ladders with Rainbow Dash, Twilight, and Pinky, and the Ponyville Party game containing Fluttershy, Pinky, and Rarity. Where's Applejack? Same with this Monopoly Junior game. Where the heck is Applejack? Where's the hashtag justice for Armin AOT lover AJ? Whatever, at least these figures are kind of bad. Why'd they only color in half of it? Interestingly, MLPmerch.com also has this section of prototypes and factory errors, which I gotta ask, how the heck did they get their hands on that? I won't take too much of your time with these since the extent of most of these are just ponies with the wrong eyes or color or cutie mark. But I did want to particularly point out how this material on these main 6 prototypes look pretty cool. I know that we have our hands on these because on the pamphlets that came with Wave 1, they used these pictures instead of the final product for some reason. I mean, this is cool and all, but imagine a world where every Rarity recolor looked like this. That's terrifying! What else looks pretty sick is this Pinky thing with Dashy's cutie mark. Wait a second. Is that a Cupcakes reference? Also, to leave off on a semi-ominous note, there are these figures with literally no prints on them. I'm not sleeping tonight. Now, I know, I kept saying Wave 24 was the final wave ever released, and later said that the best gift ever box came after. And for all intents and purposes, that's true. I wasn't trying to deceive anyone by saying that, since those technically are the last waves ever released. But what's this? An unreleased Wave 25? I'm not sure. Nobody is. As this post on MLPmerch.com from 2021 puts it, over the past 2 years, we've received several requests for more information about the 25th wave of the My Little Pony G4 Blindbags we originally reported on in March of 2019. The series came as a big surprise, as there was a long silence since Wave 24 hit the shelves. After the initial reports and a few online photos of the box and bags, we didn't hear much about them. They haven't been found in stores or online retailers that we know of. An indication for a possible limited release region can be found on the packaging. Instead of the default 4 languages from American releases, they dropped French, showing that the set was not intended for a release in Canada. With that, a release in the US was also unlikely, and would focus on Central and or South America. This week, we decided to finally dig deeper into this mystery and managed to source archived images of most of the ponies from Wave 25, along with the way we discovered that basically all figures we found were online listings from Mexico, and none from official toy retailers. This is the same country that is listed on the bag as the country of origin, and even though we searched for listings in nearby countries, we couldn't find any. Meaning that it's pretty much unknown if these were even meant to see the light of day. Pretty freaking mysterious, huh? It's also pretty ominous how this is how all the photos of the figures look. That's uncanny. Doesn't help that Mosley Orange is suddenly spelled Mosley. Who does that? Also, there's this new pony, Rainbow Smile. Though once again, MLPmerch.com says that Rainbow Smile is a trademarked name they couldn't find a reference to anywhere else. And judging by the name, color, and pose, it could be a new name for Rainbow Shine. If that's true, that's disgusting. And also there's this post on MLP forums where someone was seeking Chancelot's card, and apparently they found it thanks to it being emailed by a collector from Mexico. So I guess just like how Wave 2 was a Europe exclusive, Wave 25 is a Mexico exclusive. We've come full circle. Though I guess there is something poetic about how the last technical wave was a low-effort glitter one. Rest in peace. So we are now at the end. What are we to take away from today's journey? Well, something that I should have made a bit more clear throughout the video is that obviously the main reason there wasn't too much effort into making these is because they used to go for like, what, $3. Also, if you end up with one that's ugly, it's not like you're gonna go back to the store to insist that you get issued a refund. Though, this was actually probably one of the sharpest double-edged swords in existence, since this resulted in people ripping bags in stores, either because they wanted their favorite pony or because they just didn't want a lame glitter. Which is scummy, but I do see where they're coming from. It's hard not to. Oh, come on, man. It's just $3. I'm pretty sure most of us can take a $3 hit, even if we get stuck with a pony that nobody cares about. But on that topic, due to the fact that these were on the cheaper side, this toy line seemed to be the pretty much more accessible version of the mainline brushables. And because there were figures made of all these super specific background ponies, these minifigures might as well actually be the de facto My Little Pony Friendship is Magic toy line, at least in regards to being the most expansive and comprehensive. Still, it really is a shame that the latter waves really focused on these random characters rather than actual late season characters who are important to the show, such as the Pillars or Cozy Glow, or maybe not the Student 6 since they'd all require new molds, but come on, at least give a Sandbar. And actually, no, come to think of it, you could have actually probably made a Gallus with the Griffin mold. Though I do get why this was ultimately done, because important characters all require new molds. Random background ponies that appear in one episode really don't. Or at least not to the point where it'd be an outrage. And I can't say I don't know where this is coming from, since all the beloved background ponies were quickly made into minifigures early on, so there wasn't much option on what they could make next. But on that topic, the progression of this line is rather curious. There's a couple different aspects we can touch on here. Firstly, we started off with these genuinely creative and beautiful characters, yet they were eventually phased out in favor of stuff that nobody was asking for more of. I don't understand why they got so lazy with coloring and detailing later on. Like, what was the point of re-releasing Lyra in a super apparent downgrade? You'd think that, I don't know, the quality of a product should be going up and not down as it goes on, but I guess not. Also, there's just little subtle things that get on my nerves, such as why would they release the main 6 again in the later waves with updates but leave Pinky out? That's not fair. Similarly, too bad we never got a set for Fluttershy's Cottage nor a Cloudsdale series. I guess Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash will just have to go homeless. I'm kind of tempted to make or pay someone, or rather force somebody at gunpoint, to make little miniatures of Ponyville houses and the schoolhouse to display all these ponies in. And maybe like, I don't know, a cloud platform to hang up from the ceiling to put all the Pegasi. I don't know. It's just kind of disappointing that we didn't get too many places for miscellaneous background ponies to reside in. Aside from the designs of the toys and all that aside, I brought up earlier how I really don't have figures from the modern waves, and I'm sure that you've caught on that I've been showing less and less filmed footage of the figures as the video went on. And like I said, I've got a few theories as to why. One, people who were selling the older figures would have had them for a while, meaning that they're probably all adults who have outgrown My Little Pony or their brony phase, whereas people in possession of the modern figures are on the younger side who aren't willing to part with them yet, or just plain don't know how to sell them. Two, interest in this toy line and perhaps My Little Pony as a whole waned out over the latter years, and either less people bought these during this time or just less were made in general. And that kind of makes sense since it really seems like they were on a strict budget during the final wave. So therefore, less of these later wave figures are in circulation. Option 3, I just got straight up unlucky. In fact, I did see a listing on eBay with a handful of the later figures, but it was put up after my initial pre-production buying materials phase for the video, and placing an order for it would have delayed the video more than I was willing to let it. So honestly, it's probably a mixture of all those factors and other stuff I'm not considering right now. I'll still keep my eye out on all of those, and probably do a version 2 of this video if I ever get my hands on literally each and every figure, including the Wave 2 ones, so I'll have to find those somewhere eventually. And like I said earlier, if you are willing to let me buy them off of you, hit me up. Though this is still probably going to be years from now, since I'm not really sure I really want to think of these minifigures ever again after this video is over. At least they made this giant Pinky minifigure. I want one! It doesn't count as a minifigure since it's giant. That's awesome! Gimme! Actually, as I was recording this, I thought of the 4th reason why the later ones may have not been in circulation as much, which is people realized how bad the previous waves are, and then they realized the next one won't be any better. So moral of the story, actually make your figures look accurate. But on that note, I wanted to take this time to sincerely thank each and every one of you who've watched this video all the way till this point. Whether you are paying full attention like you should have, or listening to go to sleep, or drawing or playing video games in the background, or whatever. I actually seriously appreciate you guys sticking all the way till hours in. Actually, expanding on that, I want to thank everyone who's ever watched any of my videos, loving them or hating them, as long as you didn't use ad block during any of your watch sessions. Now, okay, this thank you might go a little long, but this was a pretty long video, so I think it's kind of deserving of that. Also, there may or may not be a surprise applicable to you if you keep watching, so don't go anywhere yet. First of all, it's all thanks to you people who watch my videos and share them around that enables me to keep making videos like this. In fact, all these figures that I showcased throughout the video, I bought using the money that I got from you guys graciously watching my videos. Like, I mean, even all this other stuff in my studio, I wouldn't have been able to get these if it weren't for you guys continually supporting me by watching my videos. See, I don't make videos to make money. I make money to make videos. And as creating this video in particular was a long process, and it was a very trip down memory lane kind of topic, it gave me a lot of time to reflect on my life and this channel, and it's really crazy to think that the background of my videos used to look like this. But now I have all of this stuff. That's like genuinely okay. If you spend any time with me in real life, it's obvious that I go out of my way to not say thank you to anyone, but seriously, thank you. See, F- can be positive, so thank you guys, especially to my patrons. You guys are awesome, like, and you're directly keeping me fed so I can continue to, you know, be alive so I can make these videos. I genuinely appreciate your generosity from the bottom of whatever's left of my heart. I also posted an update and future videos list on Patreon, so if y'all want monthly progress updates for the channel and be in the loop of what I'm working on and get a say on what I should do next, feel more than free to pledge over there. Anyways, the surprise that I said may or may not be applicable to you is, since I ended up with all these like repeats from buying bulks, and it'd be greedy to keep them all for myself, and because there's a certain brony gathering going on, I thought it'd be neat to give these all away there. Yep, that's right. Provided unforeseen circumstances beyond my control don't come up, I'll be going to Everfree Northwest. And if you happen to catch me there, come up to me and I'll give you one for free. And I'll throw the ones that don't find a home into a raffle or something just so I can get rid of all these because I really don't need repeats. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm a mind reader, not a fortune teller. I read palms though. Also, if you can't make it to Everfree Northwest, fret not, because everyone still has the liberty of voting for what my next video in this style should be. Should it be the Brushables, or should it be every single Equestria Girls dolls and minis? I'm not looking forward to the Equestria Girls ones because the dolls all look haunted and I don't want them in my home. But if you want to curse me, I guess go ahead and vote for that. Though the very next video will be about, well, you can join my Patreon to find out. But in the meantime, if you want posts in between these big uploads, go ahead and subscribe to F-2, where I just post whatever's on my mind. Aside from that, thank you guys all for watching my, for the lack of a better word, autism pet project. I promise there will be a lot more like this very soon, so don't you go anywhere. But for now, this has been F-, signing out.